Hello, hello, and welcome to another edition of Atlas Information Live. I'm your host, Atlas Alex, and today we are going to be exploring this concept of the self, and not just we're going to be looking at it in a comprehensive way. So normally, when people speak of the self or think of themselves, they think in terms of me, myself, and I, this person that I identify with. And while that is, of course, an aspect of ourself, it is not the whole picture. So today we are going to be looking at the broader picture. But before we get into all of that, let's welcome Wolfgang. Hello, Wolfgang.
Hello, how are you?
I'm okay. How are you doing?
I'm okay.
So we're just getting off the just getting started,
Okay,
and so today I wanted to spend some time looking at exploring this comprehensive notion of what is the self, and
right.
specifically the different levels and layers of self, because I think that there's quite a bit of confusion that arises um, when people speak of themselves, but more
Yes,
importantly, as they experience themselves.
yeah. And I thought you were just saying some of the things that I also was immediately feeling about it, and that is, the misunderstanding of, it's so such a wonderful thing to say, know thyself. But what do people understand the knowing? Is it the false selves, right? The knowing of those. I guess knowing that they're false selves is a knowing, but people assume that the identifications and the attachments are who they are, their personality, and that's knowing themselves. But I believe you're leading into that. That is the false knowing. Is that correct?
There's no such thing as false knowing.
Okay.
Okay. So the reason why know yourself is specifically vague is because it means all of yourself.
Right.
It means you have to know your dark side. You have to know your false self. You have to know your shadow. That's the
Okay.
whole reason why your shadow self exists. You cannot know yourself, your true self, without first confronting your false self.
Right.
So know yourself is that's exactly why when I entitled today's talk, I said know your true self, mortal, higher, and cosmic.
Right. Okay.
I didn't include, false self in that,
Okay.
because I didn't want anybody to get the idea that their true self is their false self. But you cannot know yourself outside of the context of your false self.
Right.
And in
Right.
fact,
Exactly.
because, right?
That's exactly what I meant to say. Yeah.
So, but having said that, you make an excellent point. It's not enough just to know your false self and say, well, I know myself,
Right.
right? That's not enough. And the problem is that far too many people uh, only know their mortal self
Right.
and their false self, but they believe that they know their higher self.
Right.
And this is a big problem.
Yeah.
It's an
Well.
enormous problem for them.
Well. Yeah. In context of um, consciousness itself and being an aspect of consciousness, you know, so that we're observing our piece of consciousness of a greater consciousness. I mean, even the piece is in so many ways infinite, the peace that we have, because it's connected to the infinite. And even though it may be a smaller aspect, it still has an element of infinite. So there's this kind of saying that I am knowing myself, in the sense that more and more you know yourself. You can't say I know myself, because a second later you're going to know more about yourself, because it's always it's there are so many aspects to it that I think you can't assume that you know everything. So I think know yourself implies a kind of knowing, the being of knowing, unfolding. So it's kind of an observation of yourself, watching yourself experience. Are we still connected?
Hello, hello. Okay, so we're having major difficulties on the back end here. Uh, I think there's only one thing I can do is exit and try to re-enter. Hey, are we back? Can you hear me now?
Yeah. What I lost you.
Yeah, something happened. I accidentally disconnected my camera and microphone,
Oh,
and it wouldn't let me reconnect them.
okay. I thought maybe you didn't like something I said.
No, 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 no. Just a technical snafu. Now I'm all sweaty because I've been sweating for the last 90 seconds trying to figure this thing. Anyway, we're back online, so that's important.
All
So
right.
that's what's important. Um, so yeah, no, the issue with uh, this whole notion is that people are, of course, very attached
Right.
to themselves.
Yeah.
This personality, their likes and dislikes. They're attached to, of course, their friends and family. They're attached to their childhood, to their traumas, to their hobbies, to all of this stuff that they associate with who they are.
Right.
And it's very difficult at times to grasp the notion that you have another self who has no attachments to any of that.
Right. I agree. Yeah.
Speaking of
And the
another self, here's another
Hello,
self.
I'm the
Hi,
other
Murphy.
self. How are you doing?
You are another self.
It's how well I'm hearing everything from the beginning, and if we're talking about self, I guess we have to bring apart how other things that show up in your life are another versions of yourself to what you can observe, not that they're direct representations. So, what does that mean, right? That means that, at least for what I can see from for what I in my life, is that all the things that we think they aren't. It's like an illusion. What you see in the background and what you observe from that gets closer to what it really is, but still not it. It's still not what it is. So
but
when I say,
I would add only one thing. If it's about experiencing, and as I tell the gnosis thing of knowing, which comes from experiencing, then it's okay to experience these different identifications. The only thing is to recognize them for what they are, because we're out to experience. So if we have to look through a prism, or we have to look through a lens that distorts it a little bit, well, it's still an experience. And if we know that it could be a distortion, then we can have that experience in context of a larger uh, of understanding of our true self, observing the experience.
The the analogy, there are several analogies or um, case studies that we can look at that are useful or helpful in understanding this, both from a practical human perspective and from a metaphysical perspective. And that is, for instance, when an avatar, right, chooses to come and incarnate,
Right.
very often they will choose
Yes.
what part of the world they wish to incarnate in, and they will choose what nationality, what language, what race they wish to incarnate as.
And that includes all the filters and all the what do you call them, lenses that they look through. In other words, they may come with a debilitation, right, in order
That
to see
that
things a
that's
certain way.
that's another,
Yeah,
those are
yeah,
other layers. So those are cultural layers
yes, yes,
and
yes,
other
yes.
layers that go around with that. But in the case of Master Samael, he explicitly stated that he chose to incarnate in South America, right, in Colombia, and that be his place where he primarily did his ministry, um, because he had never lived as a Latino before, as a South American before.
Okay.
He had never incarnated as someone from that part of the world.
Yes.
So it was serendipitous, because the last Christified master who incarnated in that part of the world was Quetzalcoatl, who
Right.
was pre-Peruvian times. So it had been thousands and thousands of years since, and because the center of power in the world was America, it made sense for the avatar of Aquarius to incarnate in the Americas. But he incarnated in Colombia and Mexico, which is sort of, midway between South America and North America. And
Right.
but he consciously made that choice. So that's why when I titled today's talk and I said know your true self, mortal, higher, and cosmic, because your mortal self, right, the person that you identify as, including your personality, your nationality, your race,
Hmm.
your gender, these are your character, if you will. It's your persona.
Right.
It's the character that you are playing
Yeah.
on the world stage.
Right.
And that character is important.
Yeah. Like Master Samael, right? Like I have a connection that I feel he took on that South American element of the shaman. He went very far into that. By what I read, the book that you had given
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
and that doesn't mean he was necessarily of it, but that was his choice to be there, and he needed to go into that aspect. And when I look at myself, I know that the shaman, the identification I allow myself to align with, is not who I truly am, but it's what I choose to experience, allow myself to experience. And
That
sometimes, you feel that's really me because you familiarized yourself with it. But I know it's not who I am, because it's the same as when plants were talking to me. I was identified to plants talking to me, and I had to realize that that was something I created and identified with. And in order to see that it wasn't real, it would allow me to escape that identity, that trap, and move to a higher level, looking back from my true self, saying, I can still access all of this, but I'm not of it. Right?
so if we take that
Yeah.
analogy, if we take that analogy to its logical conclusion,
Okay.
and you look at it from the point of view of an actor
Yes.
playing a
Yeah.
role,
Exactly. That's
look
what I.
look at look at look at probably one of the world's greatest actors, if not the world's greatest method actor, at least on film. You look at
Yeah.
Daniel Day-Lewis,
Yeah. I was going to
and,
say
and you
yes.
look at the roles, the characters that he takes on, and they are all a challenge. And the challenge is that he becomes those
Yes.
characters for a time, and they stretch him as an actor.
Yes.
They develop him. He has to dig deeper and
Yes.
stretch himself physically, vocally, emotionally, in all of these different ways in order to play that role to its
Yes.
fullest.
And that act is a very, very dangerous, because a lot of the method actors are not at the level of Daniel Day Lewis, and they can be trapped and go into a very dark place, because
Sure, but
they're not just actors. These guys have to be very talented. And
okay.
when Master Samael undertakes to be a shaman in that regard, it's the fact that he is a master, that he isn't trapped, because a lot of this is very entrapping.
But the name that we give to that trap is identification and
Yes,
attachment.
yes, yes, yes. And ego, because I'm this, I can do this and I can do that. Like
Well,
pride.
you know what? Let's not even go there, because identification and attachment and when you're talking about method acting, there
Yes.
is no I am this and there's no I can do this and how great an actor I am. No,
Right,
no, I'm Bill the Butcher.
right,
I'm
right.
Daniel Plainview,
That's right.
right? These are the
Right.
characters. Like if we're talking about Daniel Day-Lewis, Daniel Day-Lewis goes away,
Yeah, yeah.
and he becomes these characters. So the trap is not being able to step back and step out and realize, oh no, I'm just playing a role. That's just a character.
Right.
And but as you point out, there is a danger in method acting
Yes.
that somebody can lose themselves in that character. And
Yeah.
it's not just method acting.
No.
In the world of video games, in the
Yeah.
world of what are called
Right.
MMORPGs,
Yes.
which are massively multiplayer online role-playing games,
Yeah.
there are documented cases, and not just a few. We're talking thousands of people who have literally lost themselves in these virtual worlds.
There's
And
another
they've lost
aspect.
themselves, and they've forgotten themselves, and they've lost themselves in the character, and they've
Yeah.
lost themselves in the virtual world.
There's another area very interesting, and that is called vicarious. And that's based on empathy. You want to be a good guy, and you empathize to the degree of living vicariously that friend of yours who's going to prison, and you take on, you are one, you're in the us, and you take all of that on. He feels relieved because he's not carrying that burden and he doesn't even understand anymore, but he feels relieved. You're taking on that burden by living it vicariously. And once you pass through that on behalf of your friend as an empath, what ends up happening is it's very hard to let go of that. You really feel that you are going to prison and that was you. It's hard to let go. So, like the method actor, this has a very similar thing. So, what happened? I mentioned the word woke, but I think there's this kind of suicidal empathy going on, right? Where people, through some belief that they want to do something good for humanity, sacrifice themselves, martyr themselves, and are willing to do ridiculous things in order to fulfill. I'm a good person. I'm an empath. So
And
it
okay,
goes in wild directions, is what I'm saying.
so let me share just in to help us visualize all of this. Um, you guys know what these are,
Yeah,
right? They're Russian nesting dolls,
yeah,
right? So the idea is that inside one is another, is another, is another. There's many layers, in other
right,
words. Okay. So what we're talking about when we talk about losing ourself, whether it's the suicidal empath or the who has a what we might call a martyr complex.
right.
It's like, oh, I have to be a good person. I have to martyr myself. I have to, or sorry, no, if it's not even a martyr complex, it's actually an Attlas complex,
Okay,
right? Someone who takes on the
no,
burden,
no, that's
other
right.
people's burdens on their shoulders, and they don't feel whole or complete or holy or spiritual if they're not constantly burdening themselves with other people's burdens.
And like my sister has a saying, she said, "If I don't do it all, nobody will do it." Right, kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah, which is a very arrogant, proudful statement,
Well, it's
right?
insecurity. Yeah,
It's yes, there's an insecurity about it, but the control aspect of it,
yes,
right? It's the other
yeah,
half of that insecurity is that, and then the belief that if I don't do it, nobody else will or nobody else can. That's where
yeah,
the arrogance and the so. But the point is that you see how the there is a shift. The knowing or the fact, okay, that we have a higher self. Let's call them the player, just provisionally. Let's call that higher self the player, and this self that we are, our persona, we're the character.
right.
And whether you want to think about the world as a video game or you want to think about the world as a stage, and we're all in a play, and we're all
Right.
characters in this Shakespearean tragedy called the world. We have these players who are playing us. We are the characters they are playing. But
Yes.
what we're talking about, when people lose themselves in video games, or they lose themselves in method acting, or they lose themselves in suicidal empathy and Atlas complex, and they define themselves as, I have to be that other thing.
Or take themselves too seriously. Yes. That kind of thing.
It's a shift that has taken place.
Yes.
They now see themselves, the I, the ego, as the player.
Okay, let me ask one thing. Isn't not necessary, and even in terms of the method acting, to have to do that for like a temporary setup where you have to give yourself to it to that degree that you're describing, but you have to be able to shift out of it. You cannot be, you have to know that you can shift, or you have to learn how to shift, because otherwise, what's to stop you from not continuing to be trapped there? But you really have to be in it, right? In the sense that in it and of it, temporarily of it, just not permanently of it. What can you say to that?
Um, that is not, for me, that is not the issue at hand,
No?
because being able to do that makes zero guarantees that you will know or discover or have any knowledge whatsoever about your higher self. It won't fix the problem that you, the ego, think that you are who you are, that you are
Okay.
yourself, because you're able to temporarily embody these other characters,
Okay.
and you're able to shift into and out of these other characters.
Well, I would say
That
your
that doesn't
awareness.
fix the problem. That doesn't fix the problem that you are not
No,
aware that you are a character.
yeah, yeah. No, what I'm going to say is that the higher self element that you're attuned to is what allows you to shift and allows you to break out again away from that in it and of it method acting that you've temporarily taken on for the experience. Okay, which is all, you know, maybe what you chose to come to do here.
It's consciousness. It's consciousness.
Yes. Okay. Consciousness. Isn't that? Oh, okay. So it's in between the higher self and you, then the consciousness.
Remember, consciousness is a faculty,
Okay.
and consciousness can be bottled up inside the ego.
Yes.
In other words, there's a very good chance that Daniel Day-Lewis is just a very, very, very skilled black magician,
Okay. Okay. And that's always present. I agree. I see that
right?
too. Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
because the ability to shift, like, okay, so
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
you've
Yeah.
ever met, um, some performers,
Yeah.
like music idols, anyone who has the ability to capture the masses and
Yes.
their adulation or whatever. So, people like Madonna, or people
Right.
like the Taylor Swift, and they have
Yes.
hundreds of thousands of people, and they're, even people like, Elvis Presley or whatever, right? They 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 have this capacity to use and channel and basically mesmerize, hypnotize people, and
Yes.
masses and masses and masses of people.
Yes.
So, um, we can talk about other charismatic leaders throughout history that have used that power to dramatic effect on the world stage,
So
right?
can I just say from an experience, right? Murphy knows that I've done talks and I tend to get standing ovations. Um, and I want to say that before that happens, it's like I feel something. right? And I don't know exactly what it is, but I tune into something, and then this takes place. So, for lack of better words, it's like I know there's it's a power. It's something that is not always present, but that at a certain moment you're able to open yourself to, and this energy shows up that shocks you, but it also shocks the people that are listening. It's something that happens. I don't know if that has any value of me saying that or not. I'm trying to figure out, exactly what it is.
It really depends. It depends on a great many things.
Yeah.
But anytime that you are the center of attention in front
Okay.
of an audience,
Yes.
um, you're talking about a collective consciousness there.
Okay. Yeah. That's
So
right.
everything is heightened, right? Everything is ratcheted up, and
Yes.
it's a logarithmic scale, right? That's why people who go to rock concerts or those mega churches in the United States, many of them have so-called religious experiences
Yes.
because of the energy that's collected. But not only that, but the music or the dancing or the chanting or the praying or whatever the case may be. But it's not just collective consciousness, but it's all focused energy. It's focused
Right.
consciousness. It's in alignment, and the energy and everything's directed to a focal point. How you, as the focal point, harness and use that energy
Yes.
determines a great deal as to the nature of the energy that everyone experiences.
Okay. And it seems to be um, just beyond, like it's in the fourth dimension, kind of. I don't know, for lack of better words, it seemed to be just beyond the laws, of the third. There seems to be somehow breaking through to something else, for lack of better words. The same, and I pursued it by looking at being more shamanistic or more wizard like. And when I did sports, I was really obsessed with this thing of being in the zone. Both those things are similar in a way. Being in the zone, like getting in that sweet spot, and nobody can touch you, and you're in this peripheral kind of vision, and it's like moving through to your goal and being very successful at it. And this thing in having the crowd, it's a similar energetic, not of this normal third dimensional reality. It's operating beyond that somewhat. I
No,
don't know.
it's not in the third dimension at all, right?
Okay.
It's it's
All right.
it's not at all in the third dimension,
I was being
right?
probing. Yeah, I agree. It's
No,
not.
no, it's because consciousness is in the sixth dimension,
Okay.
right? Because we're look, it's I'm gonna keep
Okay.
pulling
No,
up this.
this is important what you're saying now,
Right.
because how can you know yourself unless you're somewhat aware of what you just said now?
Well, I'm gonna keep pulling this up because there's one, two,
Yeah.
three, four, five, six, seven, well, and eight, right? But there's seven dolls in this final little tiny little
Okay.
guy.
Okay.
But there's seven, right? And we are very much like Russian nesting dolls. If
Okay.
each one of these bodies is in a dimension,
Yes.
right? Then there are seven dimensions and then the zero dimension,
All
right? The
right.
0 point. We
Yeah.
think of this little tiny little guy as the 0 point, okay?
Okay.
The no self, right?
Right.
So but when you put these dolls together, that's what you get with a human being. All of those dimensions are all active
Yeah.
at the
Okay.
same time,
Right. Right. Right.
right? So so we are here in this three-dimensional body,
Yeah.
and that's why the material scientists assume that consciousness is born out of the brain, because they
Yeah.
don't understand. They don't understand that we are Russian nesting dolls with different bodies in different dimensions that are
Yeah.
all interlaced, right, into this singular experience that we
Yeah.
call a self.
Yeah. Well,
But
here's what.
included in these Russian nesting dolls is our energetic body, our emotional body, our mental body, our causal body, our Buddhic body, which is the body of consciousness, and then our Atmic body, which is the higher self. And these
Right.
are all, so this is why when we say know yourself, there's a lot to know.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
not,
here.
there's a lot to know.
Well,
There's a
no, no,
lot
and
to experience, and there's a lot to explore.
here's another element. We have science, right? And one of the courses I took was called the philosophy of science, but the structure of scientific revolution. Basically, what they talked about was about the sun-centered universe, right, with Galileo and Copernicus, and all of the mathematicians that were put to work to come up with absolutely bizarre mathematical equations to show why that star moved to the sky and did this and did this zigzag and went all over the bloody place, right? Because they were trying to, hold on to and prove that the sun-centered universe had to be real. And so what I'm saying is that represents everything where we are today in context of what you were saying earlier. Everything is convoluted because they're trying to prove, as you said, that consciousness is in the brain. So now you have to get this whole convoluted inside out, upside down. Everything is warped, twisted, and out of shape to keep that reality intact. Nobody seems to, there seems to be this thing of there's no way we're going to let go. So then they go to quantum physics and they say, now we're going to break out. And all they do is reinforce the walls of that prison. They've expanded it a little bit, but now they've got 3-foot concrete walls that you can't break through in this larger containment.
Oh, they've just introduced a whole new world of confusion. But the
Yes,
expression
yes.
for this, you know what the expression for this is, Wolfgang? It's
Yeah.
called epicycling.
Want to say it again?
Epicycling. Now,
Epicycling? Okay. Yeah.
epicycling, and that's not an official term,
No.
but like you were talking about the solar centric universe, but before that, we had an Earth centered universe,
Okay.
right? And that the heavens revolved around the Earth. This was pre
Oh, that, yeah,
Copernicus, right?
right. That,
So
yeah,
the
yeah.
Copernican revolution was that the Earth rotated around the sun, but pre Copernicus, it was that all the sun and all the planets revolved around the Earth, right?
Yeah.
And
That's what I meant to, that's the one I meant to talk about. Right.
yeah, so the mathematics that you're talking about, um, it was uh, what was her name? I think it was her name was Agora in ancient Greece, actually in Alexandria, Greece. There was a astronomer, a woman
Yeah.
who was working with what they called epicycles, because it was Plato that said that the heavens must move in perfect circles because the
Okay.
circle is perfect. And if
Right.
the heavens move, they surely are going to move in perfection. So
Right.
they were trying to figure out why during certain times of the year and that heavenly bodies seem to be moving backwards. They would
Yes.
move forward and then they would move backwards. And then so she was working on geometry and mathematics called epicycling, where you
Okay.
have circles within circles within circles, so that
Okay.
sometimes the orbits would look like they're moving backwards. And it was all this, and this is where the expression of jumping through hoops comes from,
Okay. Right.
where you're desperately trying to jump through all these hoops to explain your perception
Yes.
through the framework, right?
Yeah.
That you're stuck in, which was the geocentric universe.
Yeah.
So
Well,
so
yeah.
and so what you're describing with materialist science is the
Yes.
same thing. They can't grasp something as simple and elegant as this,
Okay. So
right?
let me ask you one thing. Once you get the fundamentals, at that point, how much do you have to look in the rearview mirror of all the stuff now that you've mentioned, we've mentioned about the false science? How much do we have to look in the rearview mirror, or how, or to what degree can we just say, yeah, we know that. Now let's move forward. Let's be and not get sucked back down into that, because if we give it too much attention, too much energy, it's going to draw us down into itself, and we're going to take on a dark aura, a dark energy, because that's where we are. That's where we spend our time. So I'm
Well, no,
suggesting,
again, the talk is called Know Yourself. So I
yeah,
disagree wholeheartedly. You do not, it's exactly the opposite of what you describe. You do not, you do not escape your past and you do not escape your darkness by avoiding it.
no, I'm
You
not talking.
escape it by going into it and facing it and conquering it and
Okay.
seeing it for what it is, which is the lie and the deception
Okay.
that was
So what?
keeping you enslaved.
There is no avoidance whatsoever. So I said, rear view mirror. Rear view mirror implies you have gone all that way. It's a rear view mirror. It doesn't mean you ignore it. Doesn't mean you push it away. It's still there, but it's in the rear view mirror. You're going forward. You need
But
to keep your energy going forward. It's fully 100% present. You're not avoiding it.
materialist science is not going forward. It's
But
stuck,
but
and it's
I,
stuck
I,
because
I
it
agree. I'm
cannot
talking about
see
me.
itself making the
I'm
same
talking
mistakes
about
over and over again.
I'm talking about me personally, human beings in that world. Yes, that's the morphic field. That's the world around them. But they can't. How do they break out of that? And part of it is to be conscious of the rearview mirror, everything that exists there, but not to be of it. Not to be of it at all.
No, we're not we're miscommunicating again because you're saying you said something and now you're saying something else.
No, you
So
implied something by what I said, and I said,
you said like
I mean, no. Yeah, don't say no. I know what I wanted to say.
okay, all right, okay. So I misunderstood what you were trying to say. No, you obviously you don't want to be of anything. That's the whole point,
Right.
right? You don't want to be of it, right?
Well,
But you
temporarily,
also, it's not enough just to say hindsight is 2020. When if you are stuck repeating the same
yes,
mistakes,
that's right.
then the mistakes are here now. They're not in
Yes,
any rearview mirror. They're here now, and they will
I,
continue to be in the future
I have no.
unless you face them here now.
Okay, that
That's
I
all we ever have. There is no
I
future and there is no past. There is only the eternal
I
now.
100% agree with that.
Yeah. So, in other words, you don't want to be of it, but in order not to be of it, you
Yeah,
have to see yourself in it
yeah.
and how it is making you stuck there. You have to see if without
Or
being able
or
confronting
or
that,
or you
without
have
facing that, you cannot escape it.
or you have to allow yourself to be stuck there until you're ready to see it. Until you have, because you won't see it until you're ready to see it. You won't.
But that goes without saying. You're not allowing yourself to be stuck there. You are stuck there because you are blind. And you will be stuck there until you can see. That is the first step. There is
Yeah,
no step before being able to see. that you're stuck. If you
I,
can't see that you're stuck, there's no you allowing yourself to be stuck. No,
no,
you're stuck.
you're allowing yourself to be where you are because you realize that you're not ready to move forward yet.
No, you
That's the
don't realize that if you're blind. If you're
no, no,
blind, you
that's
think
of
you
course.
are where you need to be.
Wait. Of course not. If you're blind, I'm saying you're not
Right.
blind. I'm saying you're not. I'm
But
not.
then if you're not blind, see, this is
Yeah,
the circular argument. If you're
yeah.
not blind, then you can see. And if you can see you're stuck. Then there's
Well,
no need for you to wait around until you can
yeah.
see
No.
because
You
you're
can
not
see.
blind.
Yeah, you're not blind, and you can see that you're stuck, but you're allowing yourself time to be there. In other words, you are identifying in order to get the experience, so that there comes a time where you say, now I see, and I know what I know how to move past it. It's the same when plants were talking to me. It just came to be a time where I could let go. I didn't need to be there anymore. So I allowed myself for a period of time to continue to do that, to act that out in order to get the experience.
Well, speaking of allowing and acting out, Benjamin has a question here. He says, for one who knows oneself, how does one present that self to the world? Is the self a single unified identity or a collection of many facets?
It's a good question.
Well, there is an expression, okay, that we wear many hats.
Right.
So, for example, Benjamin is Benjamin is married, so he is not just an individual; he is also a husband. And if he
Right.
has children, then Benjamin is also a father, right? And when he goes to work, in whatever role that he has at work, if he's a professional of some kind, perhaps an engineer or a software engineer or a doctor or a lawyer or whatever, right? In other words, we wear many hats.
Yeah.
Even as
Yeah.
an ego, we wear many hats.
Right.
Even as in other words, a mortal self wears many hats, wears many uniforms, wears many costumes.
And those hats feel very real, like they're part of you, but they're hats.
Yeah,
Right?
but they are a part of your existence and your experience here as a mortal. You cannot deny that you are a husband. You cannot deny that you are a father. If you have children and deny that you're a father,
no,
then
but
you are a degenerate and shirking
okay.
your responsibilities to your children.
And this leads into, to some extent, where I was trying to get to, even though it's very indirect and very subtle, or very soft. I was trying to say that too, like at some point you need to say, I'm a father, but to what degree is that my true self, right? My true self. And it comes down to it's part of a hat that I really need to, as you said, play out in this reality now. I can't just walk away from it.
Well,
I can't just take the hat off and throw it away, right?
well, but in that particular case, right?
Yeah.
If someone who really meditates on that and asks that questions, I'm a father, but is that my higher self? Is that who I really am? And if you meditate on that long enough, if you go deep enough, you discover that yes, because my higher self is also a father.
Okay.
My higher self is a father to me.
Okay.
In the same way, when Jesus talks about his Father in heaven, he's
Okay.
talking about his higher self.
All right. So there's a transformation of the different dolls. There's a transformation of what it is to be a father, or what that hat really signifies.
Well, because then
Yeah.
if you
That makes sense.
in that particular context. Now, again, as an artist, right? Someone who creates,
Right.
or as a servant, someone who serves,
Right.
right? Is this who I really am? And say, well,
Yes.
yes and no.
Yes and no. Yeah.
But if you meditate and go deep into the yes side, and you
Yeah.
discover, oh, I I'm playing this role of an artist so that my higher self, who is an essence of the grand creator,
Yes.
can
Give birth
create
to.
through me.
Yes. Yes. And give
Then
birth to.
yes, then being an artist is an aspect of my higher self. It's my higher self chose this profession for me because my higher self has something that he wishes to create in the world, and he requires me to be a painter or a musician or a sculptor or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah.
So when you talk about the transfer, this is why this particular metaphor is so meaningful, because the dolls all look the same,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
But they're not.
And each one is just it's another, it's like an echo, or like a repeating value that's coming down from the purest simplicity into
Yeah.
this more complex manifestation, which we call reality.
Well, you said the word echo. Really interesting because the Bible and the Sufi writings have parables, and the parable, the beauty of them is the echo, and they echo a truth, like a stone skipping across the water, where you watch it go into disappearing in the horizon, and there's this truth, another, but it goes deeper and deeper and deeper into, call it, it's never an absolute truth until it gets to its highest expression of that truth. So you see it, the first skip, you say, oh, it's more of a truth than before. The next one, oh, it's a greater truth than the one before, because all the ones before belong to that avatar temporal kind of reality, temporal truth. And that is something that's constantly changing and adjusting itself, whereas the one down at the end is doesn't change. That becomes what it is, and
Well,
it's more of a generalized. Yeah.
Benjamin follows up here and he says, I find that explanation very meaningful, especially because scripture portrays Jesus as having one perfect character expressed through many different aspects, as a teacher, savior, friend, son of
Right.
God, and much more. Right? Thank you.
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Um, this another way to understand this particular phenomenon is the parable of the elephant and the blind men.
Right.
And they ask the blind men to explain, because they're blind but they're seers, so they're thought to be the wisest among the village. And they say, well, tell us, what is the nature of the elephant? And one says, an elephant is like a tree. Another one is saying, no, the elephant is like a fan. He says, no, it's like a rope. Another one's like, no, it's like the mountain. And the last one says, no, it's like a snake.
Yeah.
And of
Well,
course, it's because they're all, each of them are exploring with their
yeah.
hands a different aspect of the elephant,
Well,
but it's
what's
still
interesting?
an elephant.
Yeah. What's interesting is in that context, it starts with, no, it's what I see. Down the road, it becomes yes, and I see this, and you, and you, and you. And when it I think its objective is to move to the coming together, not that, no, but it is about, it's about communication and connecting, like, as much of that what's out there, and incorporating it, allowing it all to come in, and at some point it starts to reveal what the elephant is at some point. And I think
Well,
that So that is how creation works. It doesn't work by me and what I all have to bring.
The word is comprehension.
Yes, yes,
And the reason why we say comprehension is because it's comprehensive.
that's right.
It's all encompassing, and
Yes,
it includes every aspect. That's what
right.
comprehensive is, right? And comprehension is not an intellectual process.
Okay, great. That's right.
It's a conscious process. It's knowing.
Yes.
Like just like anyone who comprehends what I'm saying now, they don't have to think about it.
Right.
They just know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's comprehension.
But a comprehension goes beyond the parts and the pieces. In other words, there might be 10 guys looking at the elephant, but what about all the other positions where there could be another 20 guys having their input, right? So comprehension also allows for that. It integrates all of the immediate things that present themselves, but it also opens itself to the infinite other variables that are also part of that.
Yeah,
Okay?
but that's another level of creativity and
Yes, yes,
interpretation and
yes.
understanding.
But when
That
you
doesn't necessarily describe the essence of an elephant. There is a limit, in other words, right?
all right,
Comprehensiveness is the limit, and then there are things that go beyond that limit. We call that
yes,
imagination and
okay,
creativity and all that. That's what novelty is about, right?
right,
And the reason why that has to lie outside the boundary of comprehension,
yes,
because
because
number one, it's
it's
infinite and limitless, and number two, you cannot possibly
all right,
comprehend. Like,
infinity,
for example, Rumi, who spent his entire life
yes,
writing about love,
yeah,
right? And people say you can't understand love and whatever. It's because people are trapped in this notion that in order for you to know what love is, you have to somehow comprehend everything that everyone, everywhere in all of history throughout the universe has ever
right,
experienced or said about love.
okay,
That is an impossibility, except for the Christ, except for
yeah,
God Himself.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and
yeah.
God Himself would not say that's what love is comprehensively. No, that's
Well,
not. It's just that's what love can create.
well, it's
But
better
that's
to say,
not the essence of love, of all that billions of trillions of experiences. It's too much.
yeah, yeah, it's better to say I don't know love and create the space for it to reveal itself within that emptiness. Okay,
Or or
yeah,
you plant a kernel,
okay,
a
all right, yeah, yeah,
seed
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well,
that
that's
can
what happens.
grow into an infinite number of trees that
Yes,
express love
it's,
in a unique way, but the
yeah,
DNA is always the same.
yeah. So the space tends to have that happen already anyway. It's either an emptiness or a suggestion, like you said, a kernel.
Well, there has to be something there, because if it's just an empty, because
Yeah, yeah,
as
yeah,
well as I do, that
yeah,
there are many, 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 many people out there
yeah,
who have degenerated actions and things that they do, and they call it love.
right.
It's not love,
No,
but they call it love
right,
precisely because everybody's afraid to say what love is, which is severity and mercy in balanced measure applied unconditionally with infinite wisdom.
right.
That's love.
Yeah,
In a single word, love is selflessness. In a single
right.
word,
Yeah, yeah,
love is selflessness.
yes, yeah. As close as you can get.
But because we have decades of Hallmark greeting cards, right?
Love yourself.
And what do you call those those books those women read, the romance novels and shit, right? All that nonsense and all those like Hollywood movies and Hollywood ideas of what love is and everything else. because we have decades and decades and decades of that garbage muddying the waters, people don't really know what love is anymore. It's one of the reasons why younger generations are terrified of getting married, because they don't even know what the foundation of marriage is.
Well, there was a whole psychology that tried to tell people that you have a really big problem because you don't know how to love yourself, which is true. But the point is, you don't love yourself by loving yourself. That's not how it works. If love is what did you say before? The closest thing to love was
It's severity and mercy in
yeah,
balanced measure,
but it's also
applied unconditionally with wisdom.
selflessness, right? Is what he said.
Yes, in a single word, it's selflessness.
Single word. So how can you, if loving yourself, that's not selflessness, not what is implied by loving yourself. But if you're truly going to love yourself, you're going to be selfless. If you're truly doing that, but that's not how people. That's not what the psychology implies and tries
No,
to. Right. Right.
no, the psychology is very egotistical and very selfish.
Exactly. It's the opposite.
Yeah,
It's the opposite.
but I mean,
That's
but that's one of the problems. One of the problems is that psychology
yeah.
has established and stated scientifically, professionally, medically, whatever you want to call it, that the self is this mortal, is this personality, that this is who you are,
Yeah.
including all of your defects and vices. In other
Yeah.
words, your shadow self, your false self,
Yeah.
which Jung said you have to integrate in order to be
Right.
whole. And so basically, they essentially said that this character in this video game and the adversary of that character is all that you are,
Right.
which is which is complete. It's such a bold-faced lie. It's such an insidious
Yeah.
lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so obviously people cannot, and especially materialist science can't have a concept of consciousness being in a higher dimension or whatever, or that it's a faculty that allows us to connect to a higher self,
Yeah.
because psychology itself has imprisoned us within this meat suit,
Well,
essentially.
also false foundational. So if you're operating in a false foundational, and it's gone to the point where nobody even knows history, it's a false history. Everything that is written is false. It's false foundational. It starts to get pretty weird when you look at it from that perspective, right? Because the foundation is still the foundation, and it's not the false foundation. The false foundation tends to be completely the opposite of the true foundation, the opposite in every respect, in every aspect, which is interesting that it would be the opposite. And
It's
everything that's being added to this house of cards of the false, right, is accentuating, is amplifying the falseness of it. So that when you say false news or fake news, well, what else could it be? What else could it be? Right?
Well,
Can't be anything else.
believe it or not, there was a time when there was real history.
Yeah, there was, I think,
There was a time.
but they always say that the history is written by the victor, and it is. It just always is.
But there was a
And
time when
they tend to justify their wrong. They tend to make it, smooth it over, like we did nothing wrong. We're the good guys.
yeah, but you know what? Even if you go back and you look at the the contemporaries writing about, let's say, the American Civil War,
Yes.
and you look back and what people were writing about one another on the other side,
Yeah.
even though they had obviously they had, you know, political reasons and all of
Yes.
these other economic reasons to so-called hate each other or go to war with each other, or you know what I mean, try
Yeah.
to kill each other on the battlefield.
And I agree with you.
When you there was there was a time when there was a gentry and a gentleman class,
But not only that, they
and
had people in general had common sense, and that's what's
but
lacking
you
today.
would
So
you would express respect
yeah.
even for your enemy,
Yes.
and
Yeah.
you would not run down your enemy in the newspapers. No, you would praise him for his courage and their, you know what I mean, and the, in other
Yeah.
words, there was a recognition, even just a few hundred years ago, there was a recognition that those are human beings,
Yes.
and we might be at war with them, but they have families and children and mothers
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
fathers and mothers, and their generals are actually brilliant strategists and so on. And when we were outwitted by our enemy, you know, we would tip our hat to
Yeah.
our enemy for that. You know what I mean? I'm not trying to overly romanticize war. That's not my intention.
No, and even
My,
if it
my
even if it was a more barbaric time, there was still more of a reverence for death and being killed.
even yeah, like okay, now don't get me wrong.
No.
Different different parts of history,
Yeah.
you know, you know, this is a gradient, right? Like this would
Like
fluctuate.
the Aztecs.
There were parts in history and times of history that were absolutely barbaric and brutal and savage,
Yes.
and there was no respect or honor
No.
bestowed upon the adversary, you know,
No.
and so there like um your results may vary depending on where you look in history. That's why I don't want to romanticize and say
No.
and paint it with all just one brush. But we we are living in a time where respect for one's political opponent is non-existent,
Yeah. Well, even in the
where
video
the
games,
battles are
where
being fought and won in a virtual world online.
okay, yeah, but that virtual world is for many people already reality, and it sort of leaks and seeps into their life by not necessarily action, but at least by attitude. So they live in a kind of darker world because of
but
it.
but but that's because they're in psychological hell. They live in ego. They live in hell.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah,
And all of that is mechanical. They're being ruled by
yeah,
mechanicity in their psychology. So now it's not nothing can be happening in the West other than what's happening now, which is they're pushing AI on everyone and everything and saying AI is going to be taking over and AI is the future of humanity and stuff. Because you talk about false foundations,
yeah.
there is nothing more false than mechanical nature.
Right.
There is
Well,
nothing more false than that,
well,
which is
they always
why
talk.
everything that it creates is an illusion.
Well, exactly. And they have to keep trying to give more power to the illusion in order to make it give it substance. And the illusion is dissolving as we speak. So, like they used to say, you will eat bugs and be happy, or you'll have nothing and be happy, right? Well, okay. They also said the end of the world was going to happen 1,000 times already, and it hasn't happened. So there are always these things that are okay. Well, if we get past that, that's not the end of the world. Or if we get past that, then we won't be eating bugs, and we can just move this, see where the next thing that comes along. Well, the next thing that comes along is going to be, like you said, AI. Okay, and it's just another thing. And each time they try to capture, enslave all these people into, oh, it's the end of the world. AI is going to take over, and it's based on fear, and people are so, they just so waiting to hear another fear story. It just, for some reason, what is it? What is it that they want? That all the news is negative, is pushing fear, because that's what people want.
Um,
Mm,
But
that
people are also
well,
getting sick of it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's a
I'll start.
whole other big topic.
I know.
Well, I'll just start right. Try to connect this by saying it appears to me like what you're saying is a lack of opportunity, and that's on like a physical dimension as well and a higher level, I think.
That's
Uh,
interesting.
because with our higher self, we make our own opportunities. We see little spaces, or I don't even want to say little, right? But we see an opening, and we put ourselves through that, and then that's how we create the identity because went through that little opening there. What happens with AI and what happens with this fear thing is that they blocked out all those openings. They blocked it all out. So
Yeah.
now their higher self, their true self, can't put themselves through to create any kind of identity. So they have to force their way through all this shit that which now they see as like a blockage, a fear in this case, in order to have something show up, but nothing shows up because it's blocked. Because and they don't know what this opening's going to, because it's a wall. Like it doesn't go anywhere. It didn't reveal itself. It's
Well,
just
well,
something
well,
that's.
I 100% agree, Murphy. But the only thing is, that's what they've done each time. So the point is, if AI is just another one of those things, then there's all kinds of opportunities. Just the same, like, it's just in your head.
Yeah, but it's
That's what
opportunity for
that's what they
who,
want to
right?
mess with, is your head,
Like
right? They want
you,
you to
like
believe that the opportunities are no longer there, only by way of AI. The only opportunity is with AI. There's no other way through. That's what
that's
they
right.
want you to believe.
That's right, and
That,
that's
that's the mission, right?
well, yeah, that's because the guys that have created an opportunity through their way, their energy of what they believe is their higher self, ends up being overrun by this separation of everything
Yeah.
else. So they may be very good at some high level, not like a very high consciousness, but like they're very good at some high level to create all these opportunities and openings in the world, but they separated themselves from what you would consider to be what those dolls. They separated like three or four of those, but they still work with those four really well. So it appears to me like that's what they're doing.
Yeah,
And
they're trying to out clever the AI. They're using their own, creativity and mechanical approach to break through. They end up feeding more information to the AI to then learn how to stop that. So the whole thing is to be untouchable and invisible. In other words, you don't want to operate at all in that mechanical system. That's how you
hold on.
escape. That's how you break through.
Yes, and no, right? I agree with what you're saying. You don't want to attach
That's a
yourself
yes and
to
no.
that.
Yeah.
You don't want to attach yourself to that, and I 100% agree here. I just don't think that there needs to be any attention to not being a part of that, because
I
what
agree.
happens is yeah, it's just you lose your how you call it,
Well, like Attila would,
your power to be at multiple places at once. Sorry,
like
go on.
Attila would be saying, is you can't avoid it. It's there, right? You can't pretend it's not there. You can't avoid it. So the thing is, Like, and you're saying the same thing. No, you can't avoid it. You need to deal with it at some capacity. But again, there's those famous words, in it but not of it. So you have to allow yourself to be in it. I would always say, if it's there, you can handle it. If it's there for you to deal with. Otherwise, it wouldn't be there. Okay? I mean, that sounds pretty glasses half fullish,
Well,
but that's just my orientation.
I agree here. The only thing I would add to that is that you're there to deal with it, and it is being dealt with. So how much of it, in this case, I guess most questions most people are asking is, how much do I need to really put myself in this? Do I need to
That's
go
the
to
question.
school? Do I need to do this? Do I need to do whatever? And
Absolutely. That's the question. Yes.
for that, it's like, well, what you, I guess this is where you kind of ask your higher self,
Yeah,
what
yeah.
hat am I wearing, right? What can I wear right now? Does this AI hat, does this suit me? Does it fit, right? If it fits, wear it. And no one's saying you're going to be good at it just because the hat fits. But if it's comfortable, you try it out and you put yourself through it until you realize that this hat's falling off too much and it's not working anymore. But and it's weird because this is this is almost going down a dark evil end, right? Because a lot of people would say, you know what, you're working for the dark side. You're doing really bad things, and I would see that people who say that tend to have much more darker feelings than the people who are actually doing it themselves. And so the thing about doing it yourself is that when you know what you're doing has an element of, I don't know what the word is, maybe like an element of surprise, right? Then more things end up showing up beyond just what you're doing. And that's like,
Yeah.
it's a little shallow to say it like that, but it is kind of like that because you want to
Well,
be able to receive things, so it has to kind of be of a surprise rather than there's a pre-planned, uh what do you call this, pre it's like a pre-planned value. You can't have that, right? Like, it's like playing the stock market. You can't go in the stock market and expect this on your returns. You just got to be surprised by the things that happen because you put your energy into allowing yourself to be surprised. Not that you're gambling. Not that you're gambling. That's a different story. You might have to do it a little bit, but anyways, I get a little bit crazy here. What- uh, but in the end, I think we do have to do all these things, whether or not we like it or not, because it's not really even about liking it. It's just
well,
how.
well, the only thing I would say is you can't analyze it. You can't intellectually deduce and work it out. You sort of need to go, okay, maybe there's just too much here. AI, like that's pretty, pretty fast, pretty takes into a lot of, maybe my brain in the intellectual level can't deal with that. So you need to reach to some other place to guide you through that. Okay, and
Yeah.
so because of the nature of the AI, it's opening that venue because it's the only one left called the higher self. So there's going to be more people, not all people,
Right. And
reaching to that way through, that way out, and they're going to discover something,
it's
right?
interesting, I
And
think.
so what you end up with happening right now in the house of cards, even though we're going, well, you can't be stopped. Um, you get whistleblowers, but more and more and more. Who are those guys? Those are guys that are in it, going, holy shit, my higher self tells me something here, and I gotta speak my truth. I gotta speak my truth. My this is everything. And like all of a sudden they come to that turning point, which is, you go, well, how did that happen? What is that? Well, it's happening. Okay, because but just the numbers, the sheer numbers of these people that are so-called whistleblowers, these people that they've seen what's going on, they've been in it, and and they're not they escape it for some reason, something allowed them to do that. And my glass is half full is based on that. Okay, based on that.
Well, I think people will always, well, maybe not always, but I think there's this certain level of energy people put into the thing that they're observing. So, in case of, I guess you call stuff like whistleblowing, stuff like that, you can be on a really dark side of something, but you put your energy on one point to allow the whole thing to try to reveal itself. But it won't reveal itself to you. It reveals itself to the whole, I guess you would call the whole field of other people who are also putting their energy into it. And that will start to reveal to you what it is that they're seeing through their
Yeah,
energy that they put
yeah,
into.
yeah, yeah,
So you can only see through your own little small lens through what your energy put through, but you're picking up other people's energy as well. And the thing that causes
yeah,
you to whistleblow is that when they put in that energy, and you know that doesn't feel right, because not in your and what you see, it's that your higher self starts to understand and comprehend that this image is very incomplete and just keeps being more and more, what's the word, degenerative
Okay,
than it
but
was when you than what you put in.
this whole thing is not just more and more. It's more of in relation to the so-called quickening. What you're getting is you're getting a mass, not formation, but you're getting this hundredth monkey kind of collective pressure, right? Because before the quickening, that wasn't so connected into the same degree. So in the quickening, this element of what's it called? The hundredth monkey thing is called mass.
Morphogenetic field.
Well, the field
Yeah.
is vibrating like, and it's causing these connections to happen so much more powerfully, right? So what you're getting is you're getting more of the 0.1% activated and somehow more in tune with itself,
Hmm.
okay, than before, which then has the possibility to pull in and reap more from the mass of humans that are out there. In other words, it's going to maximize the harvest. Okay, like
Uh,
everything ties in. Like, and I don't want to be too positivistic about it. Like, there are all kinds of things that are pulling at that and trying to stop that from happening. But I'm saying that's what's happening right now.
hmm. Okay. So on what level do you think that actually helps the world? Are we just talking about
Well, what it
uh
helps the world in the sense of get on board, man. Let's get on board, and know that 99% is dark and hell, but that doesn't matter because we're breaking through. We're breaking through. The third dimension is already finished, done, been there, done that. We're already really already in the fourth. We just don't. We're just clinging to shit from the third. That's all. Patterns and what we talked about earlier. All these identities that we're still attached to. And when you say, well, I'm a father, and my hat is I'm a father, a parent, to see it on a more fourth dimensional, complex, fifth, sixth, seventh possibility, to open yourself to that, or to be open to allow that into your perception, But if your perception is restricted to my hat, that's who I am, that's me, and you don't want to ever take your hat off, otherwise you don't know who you are anymore, right? Then that's where you are, and I think a lot of the world exists there for whatever reason. I'm sure it has its place.
Well, a lot of the world exists there because the nature of ego
Yes,
is to want to exist.
yes,
The only way it can exist is to be fueled by consciousness and by energy.
yeah,
And the only source of that consciousness and that energy is humanity. So the
yes,
egos inside of us are going to create narratives and
yeah,
create identities around various hats that we wear in life.
yeah, yeah,
And then they're going to say, okay, we're going to exploit this father thing,
yes,
because if we can get him to identify and be attached to his role, his hat as father, then we can feed off of his consciousness and energy, and we can always. So, for example, control. So, fear. Fatherhood is
yeah,
a great uh, is a great hat for fear to exploit. Why? Because he can be made. The father can be made to be afraid for his children,
right,
and he can be made to be controlling toward his children and his wife and
right,
his family, his household. All of that's based in fear, and fear turns to anger. You know very well that fear and anger are intimately connected. So that's why we have all of these tropes of these fathers getting angry at their children,
oh,
especially when their children, the kids took the car and drove down the street and smashed it up or whatever, and the father's angry, and he's not
yeah,
angry because they
yeah,
smashed the car. He's angry because you could have gotten killed,
yeah.
right?
So let
So
me
that's
let me.
fear, right? It's fear for
That's right.
children. So you see how that's how identifications and attachments are born,
Yeah.
because the egos inside of us see those roles, those hats,
Yes.
as being conducive, as being
Yes.
very useful to their agenda,
And
which is to be.
they're very energized, right? A lot of energy goes there. So here's what I thought before, that these people, these NPCs maybe, or the buffer, these buffer people, they are, I call them the pillars of the physical reality, the mechanical physical. They are the manifestation of solidity, of solid, because it's all energy. And it needs that energy that you just talked about in order to give material, physical substance. So they're manifesting a reality.
Well, before I get too far there, why do you call them NPCs or pillars? Like, what brought you to that idea that that's what
Because
they are?
they're holding the world in place. They're, the third dimension. They're holding it. So that gives a place for us to break out of. But we need them. We need that to be there, so that we have something to break out of. We can't just show up in the fourth or the fifth. There's, like we could,
Yeah,
but
I get what you're saying, but how many
we
of
know it's
these?
a dense place, and there are things that keep it dense. All of the animals, the trees, they serve the same function. Okay, to hold the density, the physical. It's energy. It's not. It has no physicality, really. Science even admits that there's no solid. There's just energy. Okay, and I'm saying they take it a step further beyond energy, because in the fourth it's just energy perhaps already, where in the third it's this thing that holds for a while, and then it it breaks down, it dies, it disappears. It's entropy, right? So for a time, it's held as a physical manifestation, and then through entropy, it can only hold for so long. But it's as if it's being held there for that time, and it's agreed. It's a collective, unconscious, mechanical agreement to hold it in place. So that's the illusion that we're talking about. It's there, but it's energy. It's not what it appears to be. It is and it isn't, right?
Right.
But Murphy was
So
asking specifically about NPCs.
Well,
Why?
I use the word. I don't know if it applies.
well, yeah. It's not just that. I'm just thinking about what we're paying attention to, really, because in the realm of, I guess you say
That's right.
NPCs or people who are pillars in the world, how much of that are we really paying attention to or put any energy into? And I don't know, I can't say how much of it matters or how much of it is actually there. It's just what appears to be pillars has so little significance in terms of what I put my attention to, that doesn't really seem that important. And I couldn't say. I just can't say.
Well,
It's like me judging people.
no,
So
it can appear to be not important, and it needs to appear to be not important, and that is the subtle power of 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 of, of that collective, that huge number of participants.
I'm gonna suggest a different word here.
Okay.
They're not pillars; they're anchors.
All right. That's really what I meant. You're right. Sorry, they're
Right?
not
Do,
colors.
does that work better for you, Murphy? When you
yeah,
think
I
about
think it's a little better. Yeah,
as an anchor, because you know what an anchor does,
Yeah, it
right?
holds down,
As opposed to a pillar, which is,
holding up.
you know,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah.
an
No, you're right.
anchor is what holds a ship down and what holds it back,
So
right? What holds it in port,
the Loki in me made me say pillar. You're right.
all
right?
right.
So,
Yeah,
and when you think about all these people that you don't think about, right? These
yeah.
people you don't give much thought to, because it's
And
like an
when you
anchor.
think about
You
it,
drop it, it goes below the water and it's there, but
yeah,
you don't think about it.
if you look at the
You don't need
energy
to.
of those people we're talking about, it's the energy of the anchor. They're just,
But
it
that
makes
energy definitely holds down. It
exactly
it brings tremendous weight, and
weight,
it and it
density.
and it yeah, and
Yeah,
it holds down and holds back, especially when we become preoccupied with thoughts of belonging, with
yes.
thoughts of participating,
Uh,
and being accepted by everyone. So, for example,
okay.
here we're on YouTube, and getting bogged down in thoughts of, well, we have to try to get more followers, or try to get more viewers, try to get
Yeah.
more people participating or whatever, right? It's like we're because
No, no, that's
that
very good right now. This conversation, this helps a lot in the whole thing of knowing yourself, right? Because it's a bigger aspect of the knowing and the context. This is the context, I think.
well because the whole point of an NPC,
Yeah.
the whole concept of an NPC is a non-player character, someone
Right.
who is so disconnected from their
Yes.
higher self. All they have is the world, and
Yeah.
all they have are these hats that they
Yes.
wear, and these groups or these tribes that they're a member of,
Yeah.
and the career that they have, and the bank balance on their bank account and stuff like that. You know what I mean? That's all that they have.
So
Right.
so
That's
so
why
Ian,
they're non-player characters. They're completely controlled and governed by the mechanical programming of the simulation.
so there it becomes very, very clear what it is that you and I, what we have to do now. And that is all we really have to do that breaks completely out of all of that is to be our true self, period.
Yeah.
Period. We don't have to do
That's the
anything,
key.
we just have to be. And that
So
is powerful, especially because of the quickening and that hundredth monkey, this intensification of the connection that we have with the others that are like us. Right now, we're communicating, Murphy, you and I don't know if there's somebody, Benjamin's watching. I swear we're connected to the other 0.1%. We're connected more powerfully than ever in the history of the world.
So
Okay, so
Murphy, do you remember back in the 90s and early 2000s there were all of these movies and TV shows about zombies? Remember
right,
how that was a trend for a while?
Oh
They had
yeah.
like The Walking Dead, and they had World War Z, and and it was all
Yeah,
talk about
yeah.
the zombie apocalypse, zombies, right? Well, all of that is a metaphor for these NPCs,
yes,
right? Because a zombie is, what is a zombie? A zombie is an animated humanoid,
yeah.
and all it wants to do is eat brains,
And where
right?
where
Usually,
where
and
what
it wants to create more zombies.
and look, if you look at
Hmm.
the most extreme Democrat position right now, being communist, they're total nihilists, right? They want to destroy everything, and they're like, and they're at the same time they want to save the world. They're empaths, right? But they're suicidal empaths. Okay,
So
so they don't give a shit about themselves. They just want to destroy everything, like a zombie.
right, but what I
And
struggle
that is
with right
growing.
now.
That is growing. But because it's so insane, more and more people go, "What the hell is this?" Right? What the hell? And communism belittles what it is. It's so much more than communism ever was. But at least now it's being called out at communism. It's that is the zombie thing.
See, what I don't understand really is that there is a certain degree of, I guess, if you're using zombie metaphors, a certain degree of infection that this
Yes.
shows up as, and versus someone who's just being stupid, right? If someone is infected, they will continue to be a zombie and want to eat brains. But if someone's being stupid, they just they see a world of zombies, and then they think that the only way they can navigate is to do what they're doing. Like that's not it's not the same, right? You can't. But they appear to be the same, but they're not the same. So in that case, how can you
Okay. But
navigate?
even the people that are affected, infected, and affected, right? They're also just being stupid, right? Because even the affected and infected have the same opportunity to reverse that.
So I don't think so. In a sense, I don't think so. Not in the conversation that you're bringing. That no,
Okay.
I mean I agree. I agree with what you're saying. It's just in the conversation and what you're saying with how these people are like anchors and these people are zombies, stuff like that. It doesn't really allow what you're saying to be much of a possibility. It's just so it's like
Well. The things that you're talking about now, the extreme, example of what I said about these Democrats, those extreme examples, they are running counter to the other thing we were talking about that 0.1% that is coalescing and becoming conscious of itself. And they see that as the end of they can't handle that. They can't, for some reason, you know, this dark aspect within that zombie thing. They cannot, they're worse, they cannot handle the light. It's like it's too bright. They something, and they're like a vampire and they can't handle being out in the sunlight. So there's something that really desperately makes them want to destroy that light, that element that's breaking out of, and they see that breaking out of as accelerating the old world into disappearing, because it's not only what they believe that disappears, but the whole reality ceases to be functional for humanity down the road. So I don't know exactly what it is. I'm not in them, so I don't know how they
here's the
together.
thing. Here's the thing. Having been on the other side,
Yeah.
having spent time, having gone through university and having been taught the agenda and the philosophy and the propaganda of the other side, the wokeness and the postmodernism and everything else,
Okay.
I can tell you that like the I I brought up the zombie thing only as a general,
Yeah.
as a general nebulous concept.
Exactly.
We mustn't allow the metaphor.
No.
We mustn't allow ourselves to start taking it literally.
Right.
Okay, because they're not people are not literally zombies, but what
Right.
they are hypnotized and mesmerized and programmed and propagandized, and
Okay.
their empathy has been weaponized.
Yes. Okay.
Okay,
That's
so
exactly right.
so what Murphy is saying, right, is it's not that easy, and perhaps it's all but impossible for someone who has been indoctrinated into a cult and has been brainwashed and
Yeah.
programmed and propagandized and convinced by very authoritative figures, by school teachers, by university professors, by bureaucrats, by politicians, by a political party, by Hollywood actors and Hollywood movies and video games. It's all across the culture. The culture wars. It's why they've been called culture wars.
Yeah.
And then there's all kinds of people who are brainwashed and hypnotized and mesmerized by these gurus, new age gurus, and the born again Christians with their mega churches. There's
Yeah. Yeah.
all sorts of ways that people can be hypnotized and mesmerized, and then you have the materialists, the atheists. All of those people are hypnotized and mesmerized. What Murphy is saying is that you cannot count on those people having the same opportunity or the potential of waking up and
Oh, absolutely.
breaking out of the cult that they're in.
No, no, absolutely.
And
I'm
he's
still saying
absolutely right.
no, no,
And
and
he's absolutely right.
I'm only saying it still exists as a remote, even if as a remote possibility.
It's a possibility. For me, it was a possibility because I never really truly I was in it but not of it.
Right.
Is that right? I knew
Okay.
I kept a healthy balance or a healthy distance
Yeah.
between.
Yeah.
So, for example, well, no, let's not get into the details.
No, but
But
yeah, there are
I
even
but
more.
I had to but I had to go down. I had to see it from the inside in
Okay.
order to know what these people are dealing with. It's the only way no one can understand a cult from the outside.
Okay. So let me say my thing with plant stalking, to me, that place was a trap, and maybe a darker and deeper trap than the one that's more obvious that you're speaking about. Okay, because You see auras, you're in nature, it's so beautiful. I can take nature, and I'm such a good person because I don't want to kill trees, whatever the hell it is, and plants talk to me, right? Well, that's a lot. And that's very, very dark place. And very hard to escape because your ego and I'm such a good person and I want to save the planet, I want to save the trees, I want to do all these good things, right? But you're not. You're trapped. Okay, just the same way like the darker, more obvious things are trapped, only this one is a lot more subtle and a lot more dangerous. And I would say a lot darker. And believe me, if you're a shaman, that's a very dark road to go to path to go along. And that's why Samael clearly had to go on that path, and he did.
Murphy, does that address?
No, I mean it kind of does. The only thing is that it clouds like what you're saying is there. It's there, but it still clouds your judgment, right? And I can't say don't judge, right? I mean, you don't want to. I can say you don't want to judge, right? But I can't say the words "don't judge," because everything that the more things cloud itself, the more you want to be able to judge. So you can't really say "don't judge." I mean,
well, it's not judge; it's discriminate.
Wait a minute, I'm not clear who's judging who in this scenario.
No, I'm saying in this scenario. And I'm using the word judge. It's a very extreme word here. I shouldn't be using that word. But what I'm saying is
right, because all I'm saying is we want to go like if you have it within your capacity, you want to go the most difficult path possible. If it's within your capacity, I don't suggest that if it's beyond your capacity. And I'm saying. If it's beyond your capacity, you won't even see that path. It won't even show up.
Look, I understand.
I want to hear Murphy. I want to hear Murphy get out what he's trying to say.
Yeah. What? Because like I understand discerning. You can navigate real quickly by saying, you know what, I know this. This is what it appears to be, and how to move forward from that. What I'm trying to say is that when you're stuck in the cult that you're in, or if you're stuck in your example talking to plants or whatever, something in you that makes everything more blurry tells you, you know what, I know that this is wrong, so I will break out of this. And this is a judgment on what that is, not discernment. If you're discerning, you wouldn't get out of it. Discerning would just allow you to look at it. Judging is what lets you get out of it. So the question is, for me, is amongst what we're doing with what we're observing in the conversation with the people who are stuck in this cult, and to what degree are we just talking about them what's the word, practicing judgment or whatever you want to call that, whatever it is.
But this is why I needed you to clarify who is doing the judging here. Okay, because here's where Benjamin's still with us. He'll tell you that, especially in the Catholic Church, every single Mass, they say, Christ has died, Christ is risen, Christ will come again, and Christ will come again to judge the living and the dead. In other words, it's the Christ consciousness that does the judging. It's our innermost intimate Christ. It's our higher self that passes judgment, that gives us through consciousness the capacity to discern right from wrong. It is the Christ consciousness that moves inside of us, that creates the shift or rocks the boat, that creates the seismic shift under our feet, that makes us go, wake up and go, oh, wait a minute, I'm in a crazy cult and these people are batshit crazy, and I can't be any part of this anymore.
Yeah. So in Kingdom it's called what is it? The kingdom of what is it? Kingdom of heaven. It's
It's a
conscience.
kingdom of conscience or none at all.
Exactly, exactly, and that's the thing, the Christ thing that you're talking about, and
This
the
is the
problem is,
problem. This is the problem that people have, okay, especially the new agers and all these the people who are cult of the positive thinking cult. They hate the word judgment because they
yes,
assume that it's egos judging. But the real judge is the higher self, who is only in essence a spark, a seed of the cosmic self, the cosmic Christ. It is the
right,
Christ who judges the living and the dead. Who are the dead? The dead are the NPCs who are trapped in the cult. Why are they dead? Because they're disconnected from their higher self. They're
right,
automatons. They're zombies. They're the living dead because what gives us life? Our true self gives us life. The
right,
Christ gives us life. Our cosmic connection to what is real gives us life. The character that we're playing doesn't exist. It's a
no,
phantom, it's an illusion. It's
right,
just like Hamlet and Macbeth, okay, and Romeo and Juliet, they don't exist.
right,
They are characters. They are literally paper figurines. They're marionettes until someone embodies them and brings them to life and plays them out. But it's the actor, the player, in other words, who judges the characters and what's going on in the stage. They're the players and the director who are the ones who are playing out the story, and the actors, or sorry, the characters, they're just marionettes. They're just right. They don't exist. So the problem then is that our egos are constantly conflating and confusing higher self, cosmic self, and mortal self, and false self.
right.
It's the egos that muddy all this up so that even NPCs can walk around talking like, "Oh, I'm connected to Christ consciousness," but they're new age, mesmerized, hypnotized, propagandized new age cultists. But they talk about Christ consciousness. They have no idea what Christ consciousness is. They really don't. Because but their egos are so clever and they're so subtle and they're so seductive because these ideas for someone um, uh, Wolfgang a few moments ago said that if you can handle it, you always want to pick the hardest path if you can handle it. Well, guess what? That path is chosen for us by our higher self
Right.
because it's our higher self who knows what we are and are not capable of. And it's our divine mother
Yeah, yeah.
who's responsible for managing that process. But here's the catch: the adversary
Yes.
will always try to take advantage of that and use that our own particular goals and eccentricities against us. That's what makes our own adversary and our path so unique and so perfectly attuned to our higher self.
Okay. Yeah, 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 yeah.
So,
It's the adversary that actually points the way,
but,
right?
but, but it only points the way if
Yeah,
we
yeah.
see it for what it is, because otherwise
You'll go
it
the
can
wrong
point the
path,
way in the opposite direction of where we need to go.
which is
So if
usually
we
what's
read the
well, hold on.
signs, the wrong way, we will follow the adversary right down the wide path, or sorry, the easy path through the wide gate into hell.
All that
That's
glitters,
what makes it the adversary.
all that
And as
glitters
you
is not
pointed
gold.
out, Wolfgang, what makes it hard
Yeah,
is what makes it so easy to take the easy path and the wide gate. That's the hardest path. The hardest path
yeah,
is overcoming what's laid out in front of us on a silver platter that comes so easily to us, that makes us do things like believe, oh, I'm one with Christ consciousness.
yeah.
If
And
Christ consciousness came that easy to you, then what the hell was Jesus doing on Good Friday?
yeah, yeah. I think you have to have that built-in skepticism, for lack of better words. If it comes too easy,
That's
beware.
that is the embodiment. So you know that all 12 disciples represent the 12 independent aspects of the being, because the being is
Okay,
not a singularity. The being is a composite of 12 aspects. And that aspect is doubting Thomas. The
right,
doubt the way it's written in the Bible, it makes it sound like Thomas, that Jesus was chastising Thomas, because happy are those who haven't seen and yet believe. But that's not the correct interpretation of that story. That story is there as an essential lesson to say it's not enough to believe. You have to experience you have to have the gnosis. You have to
right,
know intimately. It's not enough to believe what your mind tells you. So when your
right.
mind tells you that you've achieved Christ consciousness, you have to have what you just called healthy skepticism. The word is doubt.
Okay,
You have to connect through
yeah,
consciousness to your inner doubting Thomas that says, no, you know what? I will believe that I've achieved Christ consciousness when I can touch it and the Christ consciousness flows through me like like 20 gigawatts of electricity. Then I will know I've been touched by Christ consciousness.
yeah. Doubting is better because skepticism is like a mechanical process, right? And
Intellectual.
the intellectual, and then everything like is reduced, and you're no longer able to stop the process when it's time to stop it, because you've achieved what you needed to achieve by 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 having the doubt. Okay, you can't over doubt something, because then you lost it all.
That's right. You doubt is simply, you know what, that's interesting, okay, I'll take it under advisement, but I won't adopt, i won't I won't believe. In other words, I don't believe in believing. I i need to know.
Right,
So that's
right.
doubt is that lingering itch,
But
that itch
it,
in the back of
itch
our
is
conscience
itch is
that
good,
says
but
you need to know. It's not enough to believe. You
that's
can't
right.
just believe it.
Even knowing requires that itch of doubt in order to be knowing, and not I know. Okay, because I know changes
Well,
all
yeah,
the
because that's an
and then
egotistical thing.
doubting keeps it at that edge and allows it to move freely and be
Well,
true
look,
knowing.
people who take psychedelics
Yeah.
need a lot more doubt,
Yes.
because they think that because they take their mushrooms, their DMT or whatever, and they're talking to these entities in the lunar astral plane, but they think that they've ascended. They
That's
think
right.
they've ascended to the solar astral plane. They think that they're already, that they're talking to gods and whatever, right? They're
Yeah.
having entirely subjective experiences in the lunar astral plane. They're in hell, basically,
Another
right? They
false
don't
alarm.
have enough doubt. They take everything that they experience on those psychedelics. They take it at face value. It's the same thing that, like, people have dreams, and they have a dream, and then they interpret that dream literally.
Yeah.
They don't
And
like, but that's the lunar astral plane. That's an entire dimension. That's multiple dimensions of deception.
right. But
And so
it
everything
can
that
be
bubbles up,
revealing. It can be revealing only in a very like, you have to see into it, and you know, it will reveal itself. You can't make it do anything with it. You can
so
only,
this is really a key thing to focus in on, that when you receive information,
yes,
whether it's in meditation or intuition or just a lingering feeling that you have that won't go away. It's like a nagging, it keeps coming back, but there is something so um, absolute about it that you can't dismiss it, you can't deny it, you can't ignore it. It just keeps coming back, and it won't let you go. In other words, it won't. It's a kind of it's it's just there's something. It's almost like there's a solidity to it,
yes,
or that 99.9 times out of 100, that is how you know it's coming from your higher self.
yes. Now,
Where
it can
it's
also,
something that
it, it
it's immune to doubt, because it's not
yes,
coming from anybody else, and it's also not coming from your own mind. It's coming from a place inside of you
yes,
that is just
yeah.
a place where subjectivity itself does not exist and does not reach.
Now, I agree. Now, one other part to this is that if there is an underlying fear that needs to be rooted out, dug out, then the higher self will do exactly everything that you said to make you make a choice that would be considered the wrong thing to do in order to extricate that fear and bring it to the surface. Okay? All of that is done. So you can't say, well, the higher self's always going to do everything. Well, it is going to do it in your best interest, but it needs to first dig out the fear element that's underlying, that needs desperately to be handled or dealt with. And I'm saying this is also all happening automatically. So it's not a doing thing. It's not like I have to work that out. It's being worked out. You just have to embrace it as it shows, as it arises. And you know it was important because your higher self drove you to it. But if
Yeah, and
somebody,
but you have to pay
looking
attention.
at your life and going, "Why did you do that? That was a really stupid thing to do." Well, it's above their pay grade to even say anything about it. They don't have a clue, and neither do you exactly. You just have to face it, and it was put in front of you, and okay, now I need to deal with it. And lo and behold, holy shit! Now I see what that fear was. I'm getting a taste, a sense of it. You may have to repeat that same horse manure, and the higher self will drive you to repeat it until you finally are able to see all of it and dissolve it, dissolve the fear. Like, I mean, we're very, that's grace, is it not? That is grace.
Yeah, but that's your divine mother who's
Yeah,
orchestrating the events and circumstances in your life that trigger those egos that you
yeah.
have yet to comprehend.
That could
But
that
your
could be great.
job, your task, you still have to pay attention. You have to
Oh yeah,
remain conscious
oh
while
yeah.
all of this is happening.
And you have to allow it and embrace it.
Yeah, but you can't. But none of this is going to work itself out by itself.
No. The thing is to allow and embrace the action of being whatever comes. You're going to make the best of it. That is what making the best of it is what is required. Otherwise, it won't move. If you don't make the best of it, you can't learn.
Yeah,
You
but,
can't
but that,
after
you're assuming
1,000 times.
that everybody knows what you mean by that. And the fact of the matter is that lots of people make the best of make the best of it
But
by turning it into material wealth or success. And
Well,
that's not
hold
what
on.
you mean.
That's the thing. I don't think what you're saying makes sense, Attila, first of all. But I think that the best of it isn't what they define; it's what you define, right? So whatever it is that you consider to be the best of it is only what you can consider. What you think the other person's doing, you can't say. Uh,
No, you can say, Murphy, you can say. There is something called objective truth. If someone is in hell and someone is suffering from hell, to make the best of their suffering is to comprehend the causes of their suffering and free themselves from the causes of suffering. That's what it means to make the best of it. There
Yeah.
are many millionaires and billionaires who have been in hell all their life and they're still in hell, but they're making the best of it. And they will
Well,
tell you that they've made the best of it because they built an empire
yeah,
around their egos,
yeah,
but
yeah,
they've
yeah,
only dug themselves deeper into hell. So
yeah,
no, someone doesn't get to define what is best because who is the person who is, quote, defining what is
that's
best
right.
for them?
Yeah.
This is
That,
what
that
this whole talk is about. Who
exactly.
are you really? And if you say, well, I get to choose what's best for me, guess what? I doesn't exist. I is just an amalgam, a whole series of mechanical algorithms
Yeah,
that are
yeah,
enslaving you and telling you what to think. So when you
yeah,
say, I know what's best for me, you're basically allowing the mechanical mental malware, the psychological viruses infecting your person decide what is best for you. But because they say it as, I know what's best for me,
yeah,
you, Murphy, are made to believe that that is what is best for you. But it
yeah.
is a lie. It is a bold faced lie. That is what's best for them, your egos, your adversary, the thing
Okay.
that's enslaving you.
So in essence, it's another experience, an experience, right, to show you that you were wrong. That wasn't the best choice. An experience, right? It's cyclical.
Yeah,
Don't
but
because
Murphy,
because of the higher self. No. I
okay,
agree with what you say.
but let's go back to what Murphy said earlier about it's not that easy to break out. Look at all these people who are caught on the downward spiral of
Yeah.
billions were not enough. Now we have trillionaires. Like, can you even wrap your head around that? That someone has to be the world's first trillionaire?
And all the responsibility that would entail. Do they really have the power to have that much
Look,
responsibility? Yeah, I know.
okay.
I'm just saying it's what Murphy was saying earlier about being trapped in a cult. What if the cult is in your head?
Right,
There is no cult leader out there. It's just
right.
your adversary.
Yeah,
And what you said, Wolfgang, earlier about, well, if you're going to be playing this game, you want to take the hardest path because that's what's going to get you the best results. But guess what? The hardest path is facing your
yeah.
adversary at his most skill level, his highest ability, his highest subtlety and cleverness and tactical perfection.
Okay. So here's the
There's a
thing.
danger. There's a
Yeah,
danger that comes with that.
especially if you think you can do it by using your intellect. especially.
Exactly. If you think you can do it without your higher self.
That's right. That's right. And that's what tends
And
to
that's
happen.
exactly what your adversary is counting on you
Yes.
saying.
Yeah.
Because
Yes. Yes.
that's when he knows he's got you. That's when he knows
Yes.
he's got you,
You're by the balls. Yeah.
right?
Every time. Yeah. 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 No, that's great.
But,
I
but
agree.
Murphy, this is the thing. Murphy, if you start to just grasp, okay, like a character on a stage or a character in a video game, a character is there to be led, it's there to be controlled, it's there to serve. It's there. A character in a video game serves a function. And that function is so that the player can experience the game world. But the unique way in which this particular game is set up is that the player and the adversary are competing for control over the same character, and that character is you. You are the character.
Right.
So in any given moment, if you are not being led, if you are not following your higher self, then you're following your lower self, your
Well,
shadow self, your false self.
and that is the key to self-observation, so that you're able to see where where these things look like they're coming from.
But this
Look
is
like.
exactly what Murphy. I don't know if you're too young for this, but if you recall those, they used to have this in cartoons all the time, where a cartoon character with a little angel and a little devil would pop
Yeah.
up on his shoulder,
Yeah.
and the angel was whispering in his ear, and the devil was whispering in his ear. Right?
Right.
This used to be in cartoons. Every kid understood this. That
Yeah.
they have their better angels telling them their conscience, right? That's Pinocchio. That's the Jiminy Cricket on Pinocchio's shoulder. His conscience telling him the right thing to do. But then there's these other voices
Yeah.
telling you to do these other things
And
that are
notice,
always, and that's in Pinocchio, that's the sly fox,
but notice
right?
how
He's
that.
trying to
Notice
talk
how that.
Pinocchio into doing these things, and he ends up on the island for lost boys.
But that has disappeared. We don't see that anymore.
No, none of that stuff appears anymore in kids
Right.
programming,
Yeah.
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Which makes them programmable right away.
Because
Yeah.
now everything's about my truth.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
so Murphy has that belief that says, no, I know what's best for me.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
you don't.
Yeah.
If
Yeah.
you don't know your higher self, if you don't know your higher self, and you cannot distinguish, you cannot discern between the voice of your higher self and the voice of your false self, then no, you don't know what's best for you.
No, you don't. But you still need the ability to say, "I choose." Okay, for good or for bad, you need
Look,
to allow yourself to say,
that
"I choose."
that goes without saying, because free will is an
Okay.
absolute law, right? And we
Oh,
we
yeah.
have to
Yeah.
choose, we
Yeah.
have to choose our path
But
in any given moment,
that
right?
is also what they're trying to take away from us, our free will.
Well, okay,
That's why I say, if you go take this all too far, then you still need to say, I choose not to be happy. I choose to be okay, or I choose to be pleasant, right? So that it's you can hold yourself there in order to manage. You have the energy, and you have the maximal ability, power within yourself to deal with things and to look at everything from that place. Because if you're going to be miserable and dark and black and live in a shadow, and poor me, poor me, whatever, you're not going
well,
to be
that's a
able.
whole
You're
other.
not going to handle anything, right?
No, but that's
So
a different that's that's allowing yourself, that's a whole different strategy or tactic of the adversary to rule over somebody by turning them into a perpetual victim.
Yeah, well,
And
but
if
not
and
even
that's and
that.
there's something very seductive about that for
Well,
certain
also,
types of personalities. They really
well,
want to be a victim.
yeah, and
They
I'm
like
saying,
being a victim.
I'm not saying to hold yourself and I'm happy, I want to be happy. I'm saying to hold yourself into your most powerful self that you can be in order for you to optimize and maximize
You know
everything.
what?
It's like part of taking care of your body, right? Your avatar.
That that I want to be happy, happy, happy. That's its own trap. That's its own ego trap.
Oh, totally, totally, totally.
Because the ego can't be happy.
But it
That's
can
the that's
hold
the trap, right?
it can hold this position where it has maximal ability to act and perform in a powerful manner. Like that's
It,
what I'm suggesting.
what it does is that actually a friend of mine just made a post recently about how so many marriages are breaking up these days
Yeah,
because women are quote no longer happy,
right.
right? And she's a therapist, okay? She's a Catholic, but she's a therapist, and she said, "Where was it ever written that marriage was about being happy all the time?
Right, right,
Like
right.
what the hell? Who got it into their head that
Yeah,
marriage and like starting a family and raising kids and dealing with all of life that revolves around that, who when did it get into people's heads that that is a an institution that is there for your happiness as a woman?
right.
But she says, but she says
Or even
women, well, so many women come into her office saying, I'm not happy anymore in my marriage. I'm not happy in my marriage. I'm ending my
well,
marriage.
or sexual fulfillment. I'm not sexually fulfilled. And make it boil it all down to that, right? Which is just as crazy.
Even if they don't boil it down to that, that's a part of it usually. But even if they don't boil it down to that,
Yeah, I
it's
know.
still it's still perverse,
Oh, absolutely.
because that means that they go through life happiness, genuine happiness, Murphy, right? This is another aspect of I know what's best for me. No, you don't. Because the ego wants to be happy. The ego can't be happy. Genuine happiness exists in the absence of ego. It is what you when you get yourself out of the way of experiencing yourself, your higher self, and the love of your innermost Christ, your cosmic self.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
that everything that remember, mechanical nature doesn't exist, and it's a machine. Like all machines, it has to take energy and it has to draw attention to itself in order
right.
to exist. That's all
So
mechanical nature can do, and everything that it does is about appropriation, expropriation, exploitation. So if there's such a thing as happiness outside of its existence, it is going to do everything in its power to get in between you and genuine happiness in order so that it can exploit and and benefit from what genuine happiness is. So that's why ego will get in between an individual and God. An ego
right.
will get in between an individual and their husband.
So it's interesting working with plants, right? Like even if I go for a walk in the forest, I tend to I'm able to. It's like a trance, okay? And you just the ego, all that stuff disappears, and you start to see in a peripheral kind of vision a different relationship. So that's the walk in the forest, and it's like you can see through trees. You just feel the forest. So also when I'm working with plants, gardening, I start to work with this plant, cutting some leaves, doing this and that, and then I'm no longer there. I'm no longer present, and I have to honestly say, while I'm there, it feels pretty good. I know exactly what I have to do. I'm being like, again, the plant doesn't talk to me, but it feels like I'm in tune with exactly where I need to cut, what I need to do, and also after, when I go, okay, where am I? Where was I? I just, all I know is I feel very peaceful and I feel really, really energized, powerful. I got something from the plant, from the what I was working with. We created an exchange. So as well, every single time when I do maintenance on one of my ecosystems, the same kind of thing happens. I expend energy, but I kind of lose myself. And when I leave, I feel momentarily, oh, that took a lot of energy. I absorbed a lot of negativity from it. And when I leave, it feels good. It's happy. And then it doesn't take long. And all of a sudden, the energy flows back into me and I feel fulfilled. Okay. I'm just describing something and saying, I don't know, but to me, that seems like what you call happiness. I don't know that it gets better than that.
Hmm.
Um, because that experience that you're describing, the word that you chose is fulfilled.
Yes.
And um, rem- remember that an expression, it's better to give than to receive.
Yes.
And there's a line from the Beauty and the Beast uh, Disney movie. Lumiere, who is the head of the household,
Okay.
he's the head of the servants, right? He has this great line that it would be great if Windows would behave. He has a line, and it goes like this. He says, "Life is so unnerving for a servant who's not serving. He's not whole without a soul to wait upon."
Hmm.
And that sentiment
Yeah.
captures that feeling that when we serve,
Yeah.
now, Wolfgang, your life's purpose, okay, your purpose for being is everything that you've done with the ecosystems and everything else. So when you are on mission, you're on point, and
Yeah.
you are engaging with the very ecosystem that you were shown how to bring into the world, right? Because nobody taught that to you. That came from inside of you,
Right.
right? That's something that was assigned to you from your higher self. So you
Yeah.
have been in service of that. But at the
Yeah.
same time, you've been in service of that. You are in service of the plants when you do a service.
No, and that's it's very interesting because if I was to get a student that took horticulture or PhD, it's like, oh man, like, nothing. Nothing of what you have is applicable to this. Nothing. It all gets in the way, and they have to unlearn so much in order
But
to
um,
even begin to understand and learn to do what I would like them to learn to do. I am better off with somebody that doesn't have a clue about plants, as Murphy, sort of, for
Yeah,
example.
in
thanks.
in in the prayer of Saint Francis of Assisi, one of the lines is that we know it's better to give than to receive. It's better to be in service than to be served.
Right.
And there is nothing more fulfilling than when we are serving to other souls, that which is coming through us.
Yes.
Because I've described it before, like if you envision yourself or imagine yourself as a conduit, as a
Yes.
as a as a a fountainhead, and the
Yes.
spring waters are coming from deep within you, and they're flowing through you, and they're flowing out of you and filling a fountain, and people are coming and filling up their water jugs with that spring water, and they're coming to you, and you are serving them that spring water. You are that gives you your very purpose for being, and it fulfills you in a way that taking from others can never fulfill you.
Exactly. Exactly. And that is what is the foundation of what I'm doing and would like to teach. But all of their knowledge and learning, external information gets in the way because they not thinking about serving, and I can't get them to drop all that stuff in order to get to that place of knowing and connecting.
Because service
Yes.
is selflessness.
Yes.
and
Yes.
and 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 when people talk about, right, abundance and so on, like that mountain spring, just the water just flows and flows and flows, right? It's completely selfless, and it's in giving that we receive, right? Like it's because the more we give, the more we receive
Yes.
for us to continue giving. And
That's
it's
right.
that is so backwards
Yes.
to how the ego thinks and how the
Yes.
world works. The world
Yeah.
works and mechanical nature works because mechanical nature can't understand anything other than, if I don't take it, I
Yeah.
won't have it.
So let me explain. When you start an ecosystem, it first of all is very opportunistic. It's taking, taking, taking. A high order ecosystem gets to another place of service and giving and communication and cooperation. Mutual symbiosis eventually shows up. It doesn't show up immediately. Okay. And we as human beings are on the same path, hopefully, towards the end point, which is the high order ecosystem, but we're not there yet. We're still down there in the low order ecosystem of take, 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 where it poisons itself, it pollutes itself to death, so that the next generation, which is better than the one before, comes along, and then the next one, until finally it reaches a place where the prevalent foundational element is mutual symbiosis. It's based on communication, cooperation, and harmony, and a kind of unity, oneness of everything in that place, which is love. It's based principally in love, which is what mutual symbiosis is.
And that's the expression, the irony of it.
Yeah.
But that's what perfection is with a being. For a soul to perfect, it's to is for a self to exist as both, um, as the epitome of selflessness,
Yes.
while so they raise their self to the level of becoming a living embodiment of the spirit of selflessness.
Yes. And
That
as
is
a
perfection.
and
That
as
is
a
perfection.
yes, and as a human
Mhm.
being present as a human, not the rest of the ecosystem, being present in that in that um, endeavor, call it that level of being, he automatically ends up being not a leader, but a guiding element, as an example himself, to pulling the whole ecosystem to follow and be guided to its own highest expression within that possibility. So it's not really about leadership. It's about being an example, being true to your higher self. So really, it's your multidimensional self, your higher self, that's pulling this less lower, like trapped mechanical nature, pulling it into the higher realms of existence,
Um,
if that's possible.
no, can't do that. Can't do that. God and the devil cannot mix.
No, but
Right.
what it is higher
So,
degrees of harmonics, because you do get a higher
okay.
ecosystem.
Okay. Remember that your mortal self is the mechanical part who gets, quote, raised up, not who gets raised
Okay.
up to that higher level. Your false self does not get raised up to a higher level.
No, I agree.
That's
I
not
agree.
no. So that has to be dissolved. That has
Yeah.
to be eliminated, because what you have to do is
Oh
you have to
yeah.
make room.
Yeah.
That's what the allegory in the Bible is, of Jesus chasing the money lenders and the livestock traders out of the temple,
Right.
right? Because they don't belong in the temple. Money
Right.
lenders and livestock traders do not belong in the temple. Christ belongs in the temple.
Right.
So the egos, they serve a function, they serve their purpose, but once that purpose is served, they got to be eliminated, so that that which they have awakened and that which they have allowed us to remember, and now we have to embody that. We have to have the room, the space for that, that self, that higher self, to come and 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 basically, where we no longer are our personality and our lower self, we now become our higher self.
Yeah.
It's so, but
Yeah.
that higher self is in this body, this mortal, and the higher self,
Yeah.
and then there's another level even above that, which is called death and resurrection, where that higher self and the personality is completely eliminated, and what comes down is the cosmic self, the cosmic
Right.
Christ.
Okay, that's good.
And
Yeah.
that's a Christified self, but it's still this body, it's
Yeah.
still this mortal vessel, but
Yeah.
now it has become an immortal.
Right. Yeah.
So again, it's levels of perfection, and perfection
Exactly.
is
Exactly.
a self, a mortal self, becoming ever more selfless,
Yeah. Well,
and an
and
individual becoming
yeah.
more and more and more one with all,
Yeah. So
but
in the
not
Bible,
right.
you have the New Testament and you have the Old Testament. In the Jewish religion, basically, it's all Old Testament. That it's eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, right? And that was kind of what it was in terms of in the world but not of the world, and it was a lower vibrational, a lower level, where there was animal sacrifice, slavery, all that kind of stuff existed there. So the New Testament was exactly as you said. It was more of a, not of it, to a degree, less of it, less, not so much in it, still very much in it, but less, not more, not of it, right? And as we go, as you say, to the higher, there's more and more not of it being there. Okay,
I, I
and the
just
in it, yeah, I don't know. I think
I just need to share this caveat, and that is, uh, if you read the Old Testament symbolically, then you discover that it's not actually any different. Like, Moses was a Christified master. All of the great prophets of the Old Testament were
yeah,
Christified
yeah,
masters. The book of Exodus is the same passion story as the Christ, as the New Testament, only it is allegorized as the Jews um, um, being liberated from Egypt and from Pharaoh. But guess what? Egypt is just the false self, and Pharaoh is just the egos.
Right.
And the Israelites are the people of Isis, Ra, Elohim. Those are the people who are, those are the masculine and the feminine, Ida and Pingala, right? Being liberated, escaping. Remember, I've done live streams where I've talked about escape rooms as a almost perfect allegory for life, right? Because an escape room is just like the Matrix. And that's if you read the story of Exodus and then you watch it back to back, the 10 Commandments, and watch it back to back with the Matrix trilogy, and you're like, oh shit, Moses is Neo, right?
Okay.
And it's the same story, like except that the Israelites are freeing their enslavement to the Pharaoh, and in the Matrix, Neo and Morpheus and Trinity are trying to free Zion from the machines.
Right.
But it's the exact same allegory. It's the exact same story threads and story beats. As for all the animal sacrifice inside of us, because they didn't have digital technology, they couldn't think about egos like malware infecting a computer. But what they could do is they could understand all of our egos in terms of animal desires, lust and fear and greed and gluttony and laziness. These were the animal desires of our psychology. So we need to sacrifice those to God. We need to sacrifice the animals to win God's favor. We need to chop off their heads or burn them, or burn them on pyres. That's in the fires of Kundalini. All of this stuff is encoded. You can't read this shit literally. The problem is that after thousands and thousands of years, that's exactly what the Jewish what are they called? They're not priests. They're not imams. What are the Jewish priest class
Rabbis.
called? The
Rabbi.
rabbis. That's exactly what they do. They started taking it all literally, and they were literally doing blood sacrifices and animal sacrifices in the temple. Why do you think Jesus was so pissed off? He's saying, this is not, you guys don't even understand what you're teaching. And you're stealing animals in the temple. You guys just turned it into a business. That's why he was there. He says, I'm going to burn down this temple, and in 3 days, I'm going to build a new one.
Yeah, I'm sure the Aztec went through the same
that all of that was degenerated. My caveat is that originally, that's why when you study the Bible from the Gnostic point of view, from the Gnostic with access to the keys to unlock all of the symbols and allegories, you discover one single teaching that goes through not only the Old Testament and the New Testament, but also the Egyptian mystery schools, the Babylonian mystery schools, the Greek mystery schools, the Nordic mystery schools, and every major religion and spiritual tradition throughout the entire world was all born of the same truth and all taught the same truths in the same way, in symbol and allegory. It was the human mind and the ego that degenerated it into idolatry and literal misinterpretation and idolatry and empty ritual and all that other horse shit that people hate about religions.
Yeah,
right?
And the whole thing was in the Kali Yuga, and the brains were a little more caveman like. You needed something to guide, to pull humanity through that time, and so ritual, and done in the correct way was helpful in bringing people through that, bringing humanity through that. And I think at the same time that you had this bastardization and going completely in the opposite direction, right?
But you know what? So in the golden age of humanity, it's actually the opposite. It's like people were more conscious. People were more able. No one ever read poetry or scripture or heard these stories literally. They knew that these were allegories and these were symbols, and that's why those symbols persisted, and they were so beloved, and they were so honored because of the power that the symbols were imbued with. It's only in the Silver Age and the Bronze Age
Yeah.
that they started to degenerate, and then finally in the Iron Age, where everything started being read literally, right?
Right.
Especially in the last 200 years,
Yeah. Yeah.
because of the so-called Enlightenment, right? The Enlightenment in Europe, where
Yeah.
everything
And the
became scientific all of a sudden. Oh,
and
and
the
we have to read scripture scientifically too, because we have to embrace the new Iron Age and the age of steam,
yeah,
right?
and
Which is
the
the age of steam power, right?
printing press, right, as well.
Well, oh yeah, and that well, okay, that the printing press didn't help, right? Because before
Oh,
that, you know what the Bibles looked like, right?
well, they
They
were
were all
handwritten.
hand painted, handwritten.
Yeah, if you got one of those in your hand, the power of that would be unbelievable, right? Talk
Yeah,
about the spirit behind it. You would feel it by just holding the book,
but
right?
unfortunately, um, there was look, it's a double-edged sword, right? Like so many things in life,
Yeah,
because those Bibles could only be produced by the Catholic Church
exactly.
because they were so expensive to
Yeah,
make. Just the vellum that they were written on. But then, so what happened was those Bibles were earmarked for churches and dioceses or very, very, very wealthy patrons like nobles, kings, and dukes, and so on. They would
Right.
commission a Bible, and they would pay the church or the monastery a very healthy sum of gold in order to get a handwritten, um, uh, copied of the Bible. So this
right.
meant, now at that time, most people were illiterate anyway, but by the time Martin Luther came along, literacy rates started to go up, and he did not like how in bed the church was with the nobles, and it would like the corruption that was going on. And he's
Right.
like, he wanted to democratize the Bible. So his printing press with the movable type, on the one hand, you're absolutely right. It really, kind of, it took the Bible from where it was and it kind of lowered it down. But at the same time it did that, it made it affordable and it made it available to everyone. And that was a blessing and a curse, right?
Yeah.
It's a double-edged
Well, well,
sword, right?
well, it's where it moved from spirit to the word of the Bible, right?
Mhm.
Which um, went in a thousand different directions, right? Because that is interpretation. Then my interpretation
I
of the
think
word.
Yeah, but I
overall,
mean, okay, but in all
Yeah,
fairness, up until that point, it was the
yeah.
Catholic Church's interpretation
Oh, totally.
was
Yeah,
the
yeah,
only interpretation,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
And when
yeah.
that interpretation became a degenerated, politicized,
Yes,
self-serving interpretation,
yes,
it was a problem.
yeah. Well, it's interesting.
Something needed to be done. Something needed to be done.
That is something in itself that I want to point to is that these degenerate things tend to degenerate more. They don't tend to get better more. So they go deeper and deeper into entropy. So the same with the
True,
Aztecs, right? There was no going forward for them,
true, true.
which is in itself like, well, we don't have to worry too much about the rear view mirror, the dark side, because it consumes itself. Yes, you want to know, you want to keep an eye on it, but it's already consuming itself about as fast as it can, right? Don't interfere with an enemy destroying himself. Let just
No, I
stand
know,
back.
but you bring up the Aztec example.
Yeah,
If you talk about entropy, if we would have allowed the Catholic Church to maintain its monopoly over knowledge,
Yes,
then uh, we never would have gotten out of the dark ages,
I agree.
right?
I agree.
So and so, but that means the dark ages would have just degenerated further and further and further, and might have gone into places that were really, really, really dark, in the same
Yeah,
way that Aztec had massive like human sacrifices and all kinds of crazy stuff. Like
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah,
so
yeah,
so by democratizing the word, right, and having a Bible, in every hotel room, at least now that was like a check and a balance
yeah,
against the corruption and the supreme power of the Catholic Church, because we know that power corrupts.
yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
by
it's
diluting that, by making the entropy go that way, and democratizing and diluting the church's power and authority over the interpretation of the word, it
yeah.
really was like a kind of buffer. And
But
it
it was also an new order of complexity,
of course,
which
but
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
of course, but that's entropy. It's going to do that. But
Okay.
at least the complexity was at least that complexity was not all under the umbrella and control
Oh,
of a
absolutely.
few men in Rome.
Well, and the same
Well,
complexity presented itself to the Aztecs when the Spanish came over, right?
Except there, it was under the control of a few priests
Oh
at
yeah,
the
yeah,
top,
yeah, yeah.
and
No,
they
no,
slaughtered
yeah. But
millions
it,
of people.
mm,
I know it was brutal, right? Let's just put it that way. It was still
Right.
Aztec was brutal. It was another level of brutal that led to a complexity. It took it out of where it was, even though it took one darkness to change another darkness, as you say, it still brought another level of complexity. Like the Aztec thing was headed on a nosedive, right? Whereas this thing came
mm,
along and something else took place. Like you got interbreeding with Spanish and Indians, and nobody knows who's who there anymore in that whole area, which is a very interesting order of complexity going on, right? And it's assimilating itself, it's organizing itself, and people going, look how well that turned out. I don't know how well it turned out, but then that's the model they want to use for the world right now. Is like get everybody to interbreed with everybody else, right?
Yeah, no,
And
that's definitely underway, but that's because that's what's healthy genetically for humanity. It's not
yeah,
healthy to have all of these monocultures, right? These
yeah,
mono
yeah,
that
yeah.
like so. But I mean, but that's mechanical nature is just doing what it needs to do and taking care of itself
That's right.
for the next
It is a
humanity, for what
mechanical
we're
nature.
eventually going to be. And then there will be sub races which
Yeah,
emerge from
yeah,
that root race that is becomes the next root race. But I mean, that's
yeah,
a whole other subject.
yeah.
um Murphy, did you want to chime in here, because
yeah.
we're getting close to 5 o'clock?
I was gonna say, what you guys consider complex, I think, has to come together with a certain level of, I guess you would say, standards, and these standards have a knowing based off of how much you compromise yourself. So, I mean, I'm not sure exactly how true this is, but if you're doing all this whatever knowledge or writing these things, then the goal isn't to have more people read it or have more people, what's the word, believe what you're saying, but it's to have it at a high standard where you know that what you're saying isn't compromised. So
Yes. And
that's the problem.
I would, I would just say that complexity does not allow compromise by its nature. It
Uh,
incorporates.
that's
It
I think
incorporates.
complexity can, right? Complexity can, and that's because you can also see how the standards, which has to do with compromise, can be still be complex. and it gets lower and higher. So it's
Well,
like,
complexity is integrative, and I would say that if there's compromise, you're going to get complication, which is non-integrative. And complexity is always integrated. I'm seeing, right. So it's almost
I,
like in order to be a cohesive complexity, it cannot compromise. It can create novelty. It can create new ways of bringing things together.
right,
It,
right.
it
But that's a high level of complexity, right? There's still a low level of complexity that exists. So you almost can't really call what you're talking about complexity.
I call
Uh,
it complication. I call it complication, not complexity anymore.
all
If
right,
it's
all
not
right.
if it's not being integrated, then it's complicated. And compromise is not an integration. It's a barrier. It's a putting up with. It's a resistance to something. Even though
Yeah.
it's an allowing, it's still not incorporating itself.
Okay. So I think to a certain degree, though, the stuff that's being taken in can come out negatively, and so what you bring out in result is lesser than what you thought. So what do you call that if that's not complexity?
I call it
'Cause-
complication. In
well,
order to in
like
order to see a new path, another opportunity beyond the compromise that goes beyond just compromising. Because compromise is diminishment, it's entropy, it's entropic.
right,
It,
right.
it,
So
it doesn't enhance, it diminishes.
would you say that there's a transition point though between complicated and complexity in that
Yes.
case, or is this just happen?
Yeah. Well,
So what? So what's that?
in one way, it just happens because it keeps presenting itself as complicated, as complicated. So there's the opportunity to transition. Doesn't mean that's what's going to happen.
Okay.
And complexity is the nature of it is, I think, a mutual symbiosis kind of thing, communication, cooperation, in order to achieve complexity. And otherwise, it's if it's opportunistic, it tends to not go that way.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
It's about
Okay.
exploitation. Then you have to compromise with the exploiter. You have to be a slave. You have to compromise yourself, or they'll kill you. I don't know.
Right. Uh. Okay. Because there's just so
But you see,
many.
all of society today we're being told, you know, for the many, for sacrifice the one for the many, right? Which is a compromise. It's like you have to compromise in a marriage. You have to compromise. No, no, don't ever compromise. Work it through. Stay with it and work it through with that person. You don't compromise. I mean, it's just like if you say I compromise, it's like I don't give a shit. Whatever. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Yes, dear. Right. So that
I don't think that's what people understand the word compromise to mean. I
I
think
know.
you're conflating compromising your integrity
Yes.
for compromising with another, respecting another, which is not the same type of compromise. There's
Mm.
the
I know.
compromise has more than one meaning, in other words. And
Uh-huh.
when you describe compromise as yes dear, yes dear, yes dear, that's not compromise. That's called being cucked. That's called being a pushover and a friggin' and a wet noodle and letting
All
your
right.
wife run all over you. That's
Right.
not
Okay.
compromise.
All
That's
right.
the opposite of compromise. So what you're conflating as the two definitions of compromise. I understand what you're saying. You can't compromise your integrity and who you are, And I agree. But that's not what people mean by compromise, for example, in a marriage, or compromise like with a business partner, like or two people that have different perspectives, different approaches, different points of view. What you're saying, you got to work it out with them.
Yes.
That's exactly what people understand as compromise. You got to
Wow.
find a happy medium, a compromise between these two people and their two different positions, and you have
Yes.
to arrive at a third position that meets them halfway.
Well, it's not even
And
halfway. If you're creative enough, it's better than either way for both,
but that's
right?
what I mean. But
Oh,
that's the
okay.
law of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
three,
But
Yeah.
what I'm
right?
saying is, when people compromise, they most of the time fall short of that position because
It,
they
it,
give up. They give up too soon, and they go, "I hate that person, but I have to compromise." Right? They just don't go all the way. So,
But that's
so it lacks
well,
integrity. It lacks responsibility, and it
yeah,
lacks integrity.
I see what Wolfgang's saying now, and I see that compromise now is uh nowadays is about what you just said, right? Having this third way, but this third way isn't necessarily a better way. And the real compromise, or the real thing that most people think they're reaching to, is a better way, but they don't know that it's a better way. They'll still call it, the worst. I gotta sacrifice half of myself to
Yeah,
get
yeah,
to
yeah,
this thing.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
getting to a place of a better way is really, it's really a key component of what compromise is.
Well, the initial a priori orientation needs to be within every disadvantage is an equal and greater benefit. That when you completely adhere to that and or align yourself with that, that is your commitment. And if your partner can have the same commitment, you will have a wonderful marriage and there will be no compromise. There initially may have to be, right? But you know that it's going to lead to something for sure much, much better than either one of you could have thought. Now you just need to go through that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times successfully in a row, and it's no longer a compromise, it's just a process, and you grow together. You grow to love each other more and more. And it takes, they would say it takes work, but later it's not even work. It's just holding your orientation, right? And that is the orientation for mutual symbiosis. That is the prerequisite for that to take place. And I'm saying that exists naturally within even mechanical systems. In order to create novelty out of a mechanical system, that mechanism, so to speak, has to be there. Otherwise, nothing would adapt. Nothing could adapt. But people always think adaptation is about compromise. Maybe initially, but compromise is always uncomfortable. Uncomfortable. That's not me. That's not what I want. Then I have to do it. And it's like a burr under your saddle. It's always going to bug you. It will never stop bugging you.
Yeah, yeah. Uh,
Especially you, Murphy.
all right, shut up.
You wouldn't put up with it for a second.
I
uh,
mean, I know. I mean, you're right. It's weird because I don't think even look at myself that I'm ready to see every negative as a benefit, right? So the question is, how do we get there? Well, maybe not even, that's not even a real question, really, because you just see it as it is and you and you work through it. But I don't know.
make the best of it. If we make a mistake and we fix it, we feel better after we fix it. I mean, it starts like that. You don't feel better if you make something bad and you walk away and say, "Screw you, I'm not fixing this." You're not going to feel better about it.
Yeah, okay, maybe. It's I mean, I know what you're saying. I know what
Where
you're
does it
saying.
start, right? It starts where it
Right.
starts.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, well,
that's not such a bad note to end it with.
sure. Well, we've hit it's the 3 hour mark, so I usually open it up for questions if anybody has any questions or comments that they want to make in the chat, although I don't think there's too many people left with us. I did want to share one thing before we signed off today, and that's this little. I just drew this because we were talking about the three selves, right? There's the mortal self, right? And then there's the higher self, the being, that's in blue, and then there's the cosmic self, who is the being of beings. And I wanted to show this, that because people like to say that, you know, we're connected with one and everything, but we're connected with one and everything through the being of beings, through the cosmic self. So we want to be weary of, for example, the woke mechanical thing of creating collectives on this level, right? And this is the woke. Okay, this is tribalism, right? This is nationalism, and all these things that say this is how we're all connected. We're all connected. But when these groups, you know, and for example, and they want to, the mechanical way of being one with everyone is only at this level, on the level of the mortal self. In other words, on the level of the I.
Right.
So a bunch of eyes, right, getting together, right? You know, this is what ants do and termites do, right? They create on that level of mechanical nature a collective. But genuine connection to all is always through our being, through the higher self and the cosmic self, which is the being of beings, the one, the Christ, who is connected to all beings.
Yes.
And it's through that connection that we, one mortal self, genuinely connect to other mortal selves.
Absolutely. And remember when I said, like, they come from university horticulture, and I wish I could do better with somebody that knows nothing, because then you get the opportunity to connect where you're saved. Because now you have that possibility, not for sure, but the possibility. And then you can do incredible things together. Unbelievable. And they don't need to even know anything to start with.
This is also the way, but this is also the way that you genuinely connect with others, because that is how you can make a soul connection. Because another word for higher self, right, is the soul.
Right.
And another word for the cosmic self, right, it's the multiplicity, or the perfect multiple unity of right, the unity of souls.
Right.
So if you want to make a soul connection with others, that happens through knowing yourself.
Right.
Through your higher self, through your own soul. You can't make a soul connection from one ego to another ego.
No, impossible.
Right? That's so this is why all of this is so important. Yeah. And I didn't even and I'm drawing in red, right? The eyes, right? The false self.
Yes.
Which is always there, right? The I, the false self, which is always trying to pull all of these mortals away towards these collectivisms, right? And cults, and black magic and materialism and all the isms.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, but you see, that is where I see Loki coming in. He's the guy that disrupts all of that. And then what? Then what? We're all lost and confused. Well, then maybe we can come together on where the universe and the fourth dimension is going, hey, we're already here. We're ready to connect that. Like just get over yourself, right? And I like, it's not denying what you bring. It's just get over yourself. Like bring that, but that's not who you are. Like who you are is deeper than that. And if you can reach to that place and bring from that that lower level, then let's bring that together. We're going to create something amazing.
I'll just say that it appears to me like there are many ways to do what you just said, and so being Loki, being transparent, being full of integrity are just one of many different ways,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
more of it would just continue to show up. So I
The,
I
the
can't
only
say
reason, the only reason I say Loki is because everything, like we're talking before about how trapped people are. They're just too serious about their, like, this is who I am. Whoa, holy shit! Like it's so narcissistic, and actually it's suicidal. In the name of empathy, I just want to serve. I just want to do good things, right? And what I'm saying is it needs just to be jumbled up and like screw them if they can't take a joke. And okay, like it's not so bad. Like let's work with it without all those attachments, and let's come together and let's see what inspiration shows itself in that coming together. There are going to be all kinds of interesting things that present themselves in that new place where you don't have all those identities fighting for prominence
see
over the other.
it is a little bit weird because if you're in a situation where you know the other person needs to focus, right? Even if they're in a bad spot, they still need to focus. There's something about being playful that does not help them at all because then they lose that ability to ever focus ever again. They just lose themselves. And I mean, not to go too deep into it because that can get real depressing and stuff like that. But that appears to me like more and more people are going to end up that way in the sense that no matter how much you try to loosen their grip on reality, the more they cling on to it. And, you know, I can't say. I don't want to say because that,
Yeah,
again, that can
well,
be very depressing.
I agree. The more you went to school and you learned about horticulture, the more useless you are to me. I'm not. How much am I going to fight that?
I know. I'm just
Yeah, I
saying
agree with
that
I
there's
agree
something
with
about,
everything you're saying, right? I'm still going to be
yeah,
local in order to
I
discover
know.
those
I get it.
people that are flexible and fluidic enough to go there. Because if they're
Yeah,
rigid, I can't work with them, and I may as
yeah,
well
yeah.
Loki and find out quickly who's who and who isn't. I think I feel Loki is the path right now,
Mm.
and I'm not saying forever.
No. I get you. I just want to
And
call
and
it.
Loki is also the bridge, right? Like there's another, like in Castaneda, they talk about the Nogwals, and they were the bridge between these separate worlds, the doers and the dreamers, and the Nogwals were the bridge between the two. And right now, the bridge is the Loki. The Loki is the bridge. He wasn't always a good guy. He's a disruptor.
Okay.
Right now, we need disruption. I mean, not that it isn't falling apart already, but there needs to be the consciousness of jumbling it up and wanting to put it together, not just to jumble it up for the sake of jumbling it up,
Right.
because that's
Yes.
nihilism, right? That's total self self-loathing and just destroy everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, well, look, doesn't seem to be any questions or comments coming in. So I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And I hope
Okay.
you have a great week coming up. I want to thank my guests, Wolfgang and Murphy.
Yeah.
And I hope
Yeah.
you all have a good week ahead. And until next time, as always, inferential peace. Take care, everyone.
All right.
Yeah.
Take care.
All right. Take
Bye.
care. Have a good weekend. Bye.